but his World Cup journey wasn't always plain sailing. But for a freak injury in the group stages in 1966, we may have never been speaking about Sir Geoff Hurst in the same way. He got the call after Jimmy Greaves had his leg sliced open against France in the final group match. Hurst got off to a flying start in the knockouts, literally, scoring the winner against Argentina 12 minutes from time in the quarter-final. He didn't score in the semis against Portugal, but his influence on the game was massive. When Greavesy was past fit for the final, though, the public and the press wanted their main man back in. Sir Alf Ramsey stuck with Hurst, and the rest, well, you know. His heroics prompted parties on the streets. Once the celebrations had died down, England started preparing to defend the trophy. And just look at their record between 66 and 70. Only 4 losses in 36 games. But when 70 came around, fate played a mean trick on Hurst. In the quarter-final against the Germans, Hurst scored a legitimate goal in extra time that was disallowed, and England lost. Basically the exact opposite of the 1966 World Cup final. With that, Sir Geoff's pretty short World Cup career came to an end. When you look at his stats, they aren't massively impressive. But when you consider 3 of his 5 goals came on that glorious afternoon at Wembley, it's not a bad trade-off. What you might not know about Sir Geoff, though, is that after retiring, he didn't stay in football. I mean, he tried, oh yes, but he packed in management after 2 years and later worked in insurance because he couldn't afford his mortgage. I mean, can you imagine Harry Kane in insurance nowadays? Yes, Sir Geoff may have only played in 2 World Cups, but crucially, he helped bring one of them home. Jules Rimet, still gleaming.
Yeah, good morning. How are we? This is the World Cup Weekend Breakfast Show on talkSPORT. Happy Sunday morning. I'm Max Scott, and with me is one with Chelsea and Republic of Ireland striker Tony Cascarino.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, and we are here this morning, beautifully air-conditioned studio, reacting to England, who topped their group yesterday with that 2-0 win over Panama. Here's how it sounded on talkSPORT.
And the full-time whistle blows, and England have won the group, which is what they set out to do.
Yeah, we'll be looking ahead to the knockout rounds with a whole host of guests, seeing what this means for England heading into the knockout rounds. As well, Steve Clarke resigned as head coach following Scotland's exit from the World Cup. Mark McGee spoke to the Sports Bar this morning about the decision.
He would sense that he's lost the trust of the Tartan army. I think there was a bit of a backlash, and I think the backlash wasn't temporary.
Was this the right decision from Clarke? Scotland fans, get in touch. As you heard in the bulletin there, Lionel Messi made history again, becoming the first man to score in 7 consecutive World Cup finals matches. Here's how it sounded live on talkSPORT.
Left-footed shot, and there it is! History once again for Lionel Messi!
We'll be bringing you reaction to that and so much more. Absolutely huge show ahead. So send us a text, tell us how you're feeling. 81089 England fans. Did the team do enough last night to convince you that they can go deep into this tournament, maybe even win it? Or have you got some questions, maybe about that defence? I certainly do. 03717 223344 if you want to call up and have a chat with myself and Tony Cascarino. It's the Weekend World Cup Breakfast on talkSPORT. Right then, Cass.
Yes.
England through.
business end of the World Cup now.
That's it. It starts here now, doesn't it?
Well, look, I love the knockout stages. I've got to be honest. I think there's some really entertaining stories in there. But this is when this is going home time. I always remember the day that we played a quarter final against Italy in World Cup 90. And you don't realise that you're preparing the day before the game, for the game, and then the day after you can be leaving.
Yeah.
It's as quick as that.
Yeah.
You literally exit, go. And that is so sudden. You can be in this tournament and you've been there 3 weeks together and then you get knocked out and it's like, what's happening? Oh, we're leaving back.
Pack your bags.
Day.
Yeah, you're on your way.
As quick as that, you're gone.
What do you make of that England performance, Cass?
It was okay. I thought they'd done okay. Look, it's always a difficult one for England, as in they've got a really good squad of players.
Yeah.
And how do you make this group work that you can excel and go really deep or win or even win the thing? Okay. Morgan Rogers comes in. I thought he'd done okay. Comes into the team when he's called upon. I mean, Rashford started on the left, looked far better than Gordon, that's for sure. Kwanzaa at right back obviously had an injury. There are some concerns, but the bottom line is Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane have both scored.
Yes.
And that is where I think that England have a much better chance of, if Bellingham excels and Kane excel, then England will go really deep in the competition.
You're absolutely right. There's a great little piece in the Times from our colleagues downstairs at the Times. Jonathan Norcroft writes this about Jude Bellingham. I think it's really interesting, says a lot about who Jude is to England. Said there was a time when Tuchel didn't understand what all the fuss was about. You would ask about Jude Bellingham and his eyes would glint and Thomas Tuchel would say, another question about Jude? He would sometimes say, yes, Thomas, and now he knows why. Here, all bound up in one special player were the answers. And there were some good performances, like you mentioned, Rashford, lots of energy.
Yeah.
You know, Bukayo Saka, nice to have him in the team. But
he's important, Bukayo Saka. He's important to England because I think he does a lot of dirty work, Max. Plus, he can deliver. And I do think that in the knockout stages, you'll see obviously a much better player because he's been hindered by an injury that's obviously he had during the end of the season for Arsenal.
Yeah. Well, look, we've topped the group. Group L, got DR Congo in the next round. This is how last night's 2-0 win over Panama sounded.
Start spreading the news. We'll play the team that are third in Group K, as Frank Sinatra didn't quite sing.
Hard match, a difficult match against a physical team, played as underdogs. We were the favourites, so...
The longer it stays 0-0, the more patience will be needed. Panama haven't conceded a first half goal in the tournament so far.
But, we kept going, we stuck at it, and in the second half we started fantastic and took the game away from them.
As England swing another ball in, Kane might break his way, and he's somehow bobbled onto the roof of the net.
Yeah, but I tell you what, within the next 10 minutes, England will make the breakthrough.
Corner comes in. Oh, it is in. Jude Bellingham comes up trumps. Relief. Utter relief.
You could just sniff that goal coming, you really could.
Bellingham twisting left-hand side of the box, clipping it in for Kane.
There it is. Kane, the dependable captain, with more goals now in England's World Cup history than anybody else.
Knockout football is coming. The tournament starts completely new. It will bring the best out of us.
Come on, let's do the Congo. 2-0 to England here in New Jersey.
Yeah, as Cass said, the two players England need to come up in the big time do. Jude Bellingham, when the scores are level, comes up with the big goal. Then Harry Kane scoring his 11th, becoming England's record World Cup goal scorer. After the game, Thomas Tuchel said they made it through, they recovered a difficult first half performance, but there's still plenty of areas to improve.
We had some easy ball losses, a bit too much in the first half in critical moments and conceded counterattacks from it. So it was a lot of work needed to be done in the last line with a lot of space behind. Full credit to them. Never lose the focus, never lose the belief, keep on knocking, be a bit more disciplined in the shape in the second half, in attacking wise. And then we got the 2 goals, which was, of course, a relief. In the end, I think we deserved to win.
Deserved win, according to Thomas Tuchel. You mentioned it a little bit before about Morgan Rogers. Did that performance convince you that he and Jude Bellingham, obviously it's only one game, you need to give players more time, but do you think that is a pairing in midfield, if you like, that can work?
You can only assess that, Max, when you come up against elite teams in the knockout stages. how well it works. He done well last night, I thought, Morgan Rogers, and also it allowed Bellingham to be a little bit more closer to Elliot Anderson, which works as well. You didn't need two holding midfielders yesterday. And I think that, look, it's easy to say when you're going to play, the next round's going to be DR Congo, okay? And that's who they're going to come up against. That was the team that I watched play Portugal that absolutely stopped Portugal in their tracks.
Yeah.
By the way they were set up. People like Wanzabi, who was at Burnley, Manchester United player. I saw him as a young lad. I thought he was tremendous and suffered unbelievable injuries that hindered his career. And he was alongside Mbemba, who's a big, strong lad at the back who attacks everything. But they have a setup, DR Congo. So, you're going to have to break that down. And I don't believe you need two holding midfielders to do that role. I feel like I'm not so sure about that. I think you need one midfielder joining in the box. Because Portugal really suffered in that game because they had lots of possession but couldn't really create anything against DR Congo.
Yeah, when you talk about having that one holding midfielder, I thought yesterday, because Jude Bellingham is that little bit more attacking minded than Declan Rice, he did that really well. He broke up the play well, made a couple of brilliant tackles recovering possession, and then was able to move forward with it. In terms of areas of improvement, Cass, for me, the glaringly obvious thing is defensively. Yes, England won the game. Yes, they didn't concede, kept a clean sheet, but Panama, on multiple occasions, found space and found gaps. And I thought exploiting the fact that England did not have on the pitch, until he went off injured, a dedicated fullback with a right foot.
Yeah. I think that's a fair point. And there was they scored, didn't they? Panama scored, which was disallowed, and it was a really tight call. And that looked on a few times, just that hairline type of decision where you're literally on the edge of, is it offside or is it not? Against the very best, they'll punish you.
Yeah,
they will. Certain forwards will punish you. And there's a lot of good forwards, as we've seen already in this competition, that can make the difference in a moment. So, look, I do think England will improve. Find a solution to that right-back area. You might see Thomas Tuchel do something very different. He might even select a midfielder to go and play right-back. He might do that.
Why wouldn't he just pick the right-back that he's got in Jed Spence?
Well, why didn't he do it last night? Obviously, he has concerns.
Well, and that, if he's got concerns about him, why pick him? Why not pick Trent Alexander-Arnold, for example? Now, I don't want to necessarily bring all that back up because we know obviously something's not working. But if you've picked a right back in your 26-man squad to represent the nation in a World Cup, then use him.
Okay, I'll give you an example why, and this is only from my experience with Ireland, is that sometimes you pick players that at the time seem the right choice, and then when you get to the World Cup or European Championships, you realise, I think I made in hindsight, I think I made the wrong decision.
Thomas Tuchel's been given another opportunity with the injury of Tino Livramento to acknowledge his mistake that he needs fullbacks at fullback, and he brought in Trevor Chalobah. Yeah, so he might have to come in for the knock.
Well, there'll be someone that he's going to try and work out who goes there. I'm not so sure yet. It's one of them. It's the position in the England team that's totally up for grabs.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the right back. So someone's going to play there, and it might not be the obvious because obviously Jed Spence yesterday would have been the right solution if you think of it logically and go, well, he plays right back or he can play left back, so he can do that job and it isn't much of an issue. But he didn't play him yesterday, unless he's got an injury we don't know about. Or why is he not picked him?
He did it because it's the Panama game, it's the last group game, he's confident.
Maybe.
Let's see what Kwanzaa's made of. Turns out his ankles are made of glass, bless him. And that's not a criticism. He's got injured, poor lad. I would like to think, coming up against the likes of Vinicius Jr., I would like to think, I know, the only player currently in your available squad that's got any chance of doing a decent job on that is Jed Spence, because what he's best at is one-on-one defending and he's fast. Yes, he's not a world-class defender.
I wouldn't agree with that.
You don't think he's fast?
No, he is fast. I don't think he's great at one-on-ones like many people do. I think he gets caught out of position too often. He is one of them that's so quick he can recover and get back. But if he, like you said, if he plays against Vinicius Jr., you won't get back to him. If you get half a yard. Now, watching him for Tottenham a lot last year, I always sort of felt that he's one of them players that give you a chance by something he does, whether it's positioning, whether he gets caught out and players getting behind him, because he can recover. He is blisteringly quick. I get that. Now,
who would you put in then if it's not Jed Spence? Let's say we get through to the quarterfinal against Brazil. They beat Japan. We beat Mexico at altitude. Who are you putting?
Well, I would have had someone that's not there.
Well, exactly. That's the question.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's not a case of oh, well, I'll go Trevor Chalobah, who could play that right-back position, or I could even play a midfielder. I could have played Declan Rice at right-back.
Well, if you had to pick someone, though, in the 26, who would it be? In the 26?
If I'm brutally honest, I would really think about playing Declan Rice there.
At right-back?
Yeah.
Against
I think he could do it.
Yeah.
I think he could do it.
I think it's got to be Jed.
But I had this discussion with about Paul McGrath. Paul McGrath, you could play right back, centre half, or midfield, right? And I've always said, and Declan Rice has disagreed with me I always said Declan Rice can play centre half, he can play midfield, and you could play him as a fullback. Steven Gerrard, you could play as a right back. He did it in the Champions League final because he was so good athletically. Now, if I wanted someone to be able to handle someone physically and athletically, I'm looking at Declan Rice.
I mean,
right?
Harry Mbassy's got in touch, 81089. Is Spence not a natural right back? Surely he balances the team best.
Yeah, well, you think that, but I don't think...
You can't see it.
You have to look at his career and look at how many times he's been in back fours that have conceded a lot of goals.
Yeah.
It's not down to him or only, but he's been that type of player. I always used to say, when he was at Nottingham Forest, when you know him really well, and I used to think, why didn't Forest sign him? You know, when they had the opportunity and they chose not to. You went and bought, was it Aniel or you bought instead?
What, Olarena, Nico Williams?
Yeah, Nico. So, why did you not choose to sign him at that particular time when he was on loan?
I understand that, Casper, but for me, it's just like, look, Thomas Tuchel's picked him. If you've picked him, you got to back him. And if you haven't got another right back, which you don't, then you got to pick him. And if not, then you're acknowledging a mistake. Look, loads more reactions come throughout today's show. Keep your texts coming in, 81089. We're hopefully as well going to take some of your calls, 03717223344. The lines are clear now. I'm looking at the switchboard. If you call, you will get through. Up next, though, we're going to react as well to that big news coming out of Scotland. Steve Clarke has stepped down as the manager of the Tartan Army. This is the weekend World Cup breakfast on talkSPORT.
Bentley has been terrified all week about the Ghanaian witch doctor he slagged off.
No, he did not.
Supposedly putting a curse on Harry Kane in England's #9, subsequently missing a sitter. Now, thankfully, the witch doctor, of course, lifted the curse.
It's funny.
Right, Now, there was a report in The Sun that you, Emmanuel, were cursed by a witch doctor.
It's Senegal.
Ignored it
2002.
and got injured.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, before the World Cup in 2002, no, after the World Cup, actually, because we went out very quickly, during the World Cup in Asia. And when I came back, I was in holidays in south of France, and I had a friend, he was selling watches, on the beach, and he was expecting me. He was waiting for me for days. And then when he saw me, he came to me straight away and he said, I'm so happy to see you because I have something important to tell you. And I said, well, what is it? And he said, you have to be very careful because... you have how can I say that?
Curse?
A curse, yeah, on you, and you have to follow exactly what I'm going to tell you. And I said, what is it? He said, you have to go in Africa and you have to buy a cow and you have to kill it, and you have to follow.
Bit detailed and extreme, that one.
Yeah, but I said, listen, I understand, and I really appreciate that, but this is your.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Good morning. How are we? You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast Show. We've just been reacting, Cass and I, having a discussion about England's defensive issues that are at hand because Thomas Tuchel obviously decided to pick very, very few fit right-backs. Cass reckons Declan Rice could do a job. I think you've got to stick with Jed Spence. And we've got a text in from Alex. He says, I think it's a shambles how Lewis Hall didn't get selected initially and then again after the Livramento injury. England's best left-back, and he's played right-back for Newcastle a few times. He can beat a technically gifted player. He locked up Lamine Yamal in that first leg of the Champions League against Barcelona. But we digress. We're going to get into some Scotland in a minute. But this is a throwback, the Pet Shop Boys to the 80s.
Yeah.
These boys a bit of you, Cass?
Not really. But, they had loads of hits at that particular time. Pet Shop Boys, to me, were one of them poppy bands that made great songs. I would say great songs, had hits, a lot of hits.
Yeah.
For one period, it felt like they were in the top of the charts all the time.
Now, we usually do like a bit of a birthday at this point. It's no one's birthday, but can you guess what trillionaire? It's a trillionaire's birthday today.
Well, it's only one trillionaire in the world. It's Elon.
Yeah.
Elon, yeah.
Big Elon.
Elon Musk.
Yeah. Pigeon chest Elon. 55 years old today. The mastermind, of course, behind SpaceX, Tesla, and Twitter. We'll call it that. Recent valuation staggering 1.7 trillion.
Yeah.
Absolute madness.
Because the launch of all these companies they're flying, aren't they?
Unbelievable, isn't it?
He has done some amazing feats.
He's a divisive figure, but crikey, he's an entrepreneur.
Yeah. He's a genius. There's no doubt about it. It's pretty obvious to say, but when someone can put a rocket up in the air and it comes back down and just lands literally in the spotlight the size of this studio, that is just bonkers stuff,
isn't it? It is. Right, let's talk about some of the big breaking news happened in the early hours of this morning. Right after Group L, England's group was concluding, and it was mathematically confirmed that Scotland have been knocked out of the World Cup, having scored one goal just against Haiti. Yes, Scotland confirmed. Head coach Steve Clarke has stepped down from his role. A statement came out last night calling Clarke the most successful national team head coach. He's called time on his 7 years in charge following the FIFA World Cup being knocked out of that. Former Scotland striker Mark McGee joined the Game Day Sports Bar last night. He says disappointing performances at this tournament led to this outcome.
A lot would be forgiven if, we had lost against Brazil and Morocco. I was at the games. That first half, Morocco were different class, and throughout the game, Brazil were just another level. They were so much class about them that Scotland couldn't live with that. But the disappointing was only beating Haiti 1-0, and more than that, the performance was, not great.
Did you expect this, Cass?
No, I'll be lying if I said that. It does all add up, though, because Steve was very unhappy in his press conferences.
Yeah.
You could tell that was a grumpy man, angry about whatever's happened within the camp. Yeah. And I think the newspapers had a little bit of a whiff of it the day before, because some of the articles we read talked about one in the Daily Mail about doom and gloom in Scotland camp. I think they had a whiff of it. And Steve has done the right thing, because it's different. A club job is so different from a national job, because when the country, even though the Scotland fans have appreciated what you've done, when the dust settles and you get back, it's not the same vibe as it was going. And I think he's realised that maybe it was a mistake to go and take on another 4 years, and probably thinks, I've done the best I can.
Yeah.
And look, you can change your mind, can't you? It's only a month ago he signed a new deal, so it seems really weird. But obviously a lot had gone on in that month that he wasn't happy about.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems to me, Cass, it's taken Scotland as far as he can. And Scotland, of course, have to be so appreciative of him. I think the Scottish FA Chief Executive Ian Maxwell says, we thank Steve for his record-breaking contribution and know that when the disappointment of World Cup elimination subsides, the Scotland supporters will be thankful for the memories of marching with pride at major tournaments once again. What he achieved in the World Cup qualification group that they had is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
But it's got a shade of the Gareth Southgate's about it. He's probably, amazing for Scotland in where they were, taking them as far as he can.
Yeah, it's always a tough one. You've got amazing support, which they've always had, Scotland, all over the world. They take thousands upon thousands. And you get to a stage where he's been eliminated and it wasn't good. I can't even think really. of even saying they played well for 45 minutes in a game.
Yeah.
If you take the Haiti game, they didn't play well. They got over the line and won the game, and it didn't really matter too much. But it wasn't any period, and they had two really good teams in their group as well. Morocco and Brazil were both very good sides that will certainly, I mean, look, they could get knocked out because of the side of the draw you're on, but they're really good sides. And that was just the normal for me. I didn't think that they could beat them. I sort of hoped Scotland had a bit more, as in resilience, which they didn't in defence.
Yeah.
They didn't have that.
Next manager odds. Top of the list, David Moyes, Stephen Naismith, Ange Postecoglou, Kieran McKenna.
It's not David Moyes. There's no chance. He's not going to leave Everton. He's not going to leave Everton for the Scotland job.
What sort of manager do you think they need to go for then?
Well, it's really hard to think. Yeah. Literally, Max, you're asking me after 12 hours of Steve Clark.
A little bit of Big Ange?
I don't know.
You know, that attacking sort of ambition that the Tartan Army would criticise Scotland. Scotland showed absolutely nothing of. They had one shot on target in the last two group games.
Well,
Ange Postecoglou changed that.
Well, yeah, that's black and white, isn't it? That's ridiculous attacking Ange Postecoglou. I would say they need someone who can be a bit of both more than just go, well, we had this style that was a bit more pragmatic, and now we're just going to go for the kitchen sink and throw it at teams. If you do that, you'll get buried against the best team. So I would think they'll probably have a sit down and think, who are the best candidate for the job? But it's a tough one because we're literally 12 hours in.
Got to ask the question though, Cass.
Yeah, I know, but
it'd be interesting.
You know, it's hard to come up with a name. Thinking, would it be a club manager that the association might go? Do you know what? Or would they go for a young person who's come out of the game that is doing their coaching? You know, just like if you look at what Wales have done when they took Ryan Giggs in, and then they had Craig Bellamy, and having an ex-player, would Scotland decide to go down that road?
Yeah, well, stay tuned on talksport.com, give you all the latest on the Scotland managerial changes that are happening just in the last 12 hours. Right, up next, we're going to look at the host nation Canada in the first knockout game of this World Cup versus South Africa. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT.
Manchester City have agreed a £116 million deal to sign Elliot Anderson from Nottingham Forest. The fee, as you might have guessed, is the most ever paid for a British player and represents a new record for Manchester City. He's 23, Anderson, and has now been given permission to undertake a medical right here in New York today, with the deal subject to the finalising of personal terms. You would think that'll get done quick style. Alex, Elliot Anderson, this is a remarkable rise, isn't it?
Certainly is, when you think that he went from Newcastle to Forest for a relatively modest sum. I know Eddie Howe at the time didn't particularly want to cash in, but obviously they had issues with PSR.
Yep.
It's interesting, the figures. City side are saying 116 million. Forest side are saying actually it's nearer to 130 million. Either way, it's a record, as you say, for a British player, potentially a Premier League record fee, eclipsing what Liverpool paid for Alexander Isak this time last year. I was speaking to a couple of ex-players at the darts last night, and we were pondering, if Elliot Anderson is really a £130 million player, how much would someone like Paul Scholes be worth in the current market? I think he's a terrific player, Elliot Anderson. I'm not sure he's a £130 million player.
Well, sure. He joined Forest, as Alex says, from Newcastle in a £35 million deal in 2023. So, not so long after that, we've now arrived at 116 million.
Well, brilliant business for Forest. If I'm going to...
Good morning, how you doing? This is the World Cup Weekend Breakfast Live on talkSPORT, on your radio, on your smart TV. I'm Max Scott, and with me is former Republic of Ireland striker Tony Cascarino. We've been picking the bones out of England's performance last night, improving from that Ghana draw, but there are questions about that defence and potentially exposing Thomas Tuchel's refusal to bring someone like Trent, someone like Lewis Hall, particularly with the injury to Tino Livramento. Cass and I disagreeing on what we think should happen if we come up against a big team. I think just play Jed Spence, your right back at right back. Cass reckons it'd be better to give it to someone like Declan Rice, who can fill in for that role, defensively solid, got the experience and the leadership. Delighted to say now that Jason, the Chelsea fan, has called up. He wants to give his 2 pence worth. Jason, how you doing, mate?
Yeah,
Hi, Jason.
Yourself? Yeah, how are we doing? Good morning.
Yeah, doing
Morning,
really well,
Jason.
thanks, mate. Little sleep, but feeling good about England generally. We do have these concerns defensively, though. What do you think? What would you like to see Thomas Tuchel do?
I didn't know whether or not potentially that he could go to a back three, and then you could, because I think Saka, I know he started off his career as like a defender, like left back, I think, or right back, as it were. But maybe he could slot into not the right back position, but as sort of like a right wing back as such. If he didn't go with that, then maybe Conser could go there rather than Declan Rice, because I think you lose too much from our midfield by moving Declan Rice out of there. I do believe he could do the job there, but I just think I would personally probably just stick with Jed Spence. As you say, he is the right back. But yeah, I just thought that maybe he could go to a back three with Saka slotting in that position.
I'd just say to that, Jason, I think it would be a strange move for a manager to go into the knockout phases and go, right, well, now we're going to go to a three. And a lot of them don't like doing that unless it's absolutely necessary. You might be right. It might suit the team. But I just don't see him doing that. I think he's going to go still with a flat back four, because I think you'll just end up reshuffling the team around. A lot of positions will be affected by going to that three.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I do agree. Don't get it wrong. It probably sounds like I'm contradicting what I said. I do sort of, I get where you're coming from with that, because obviously we haven't played that system before. But, potentially that could be the option. But I think out of the options that we've got there, either Spence, or if we was going to move what would be, I suppose, like a traditional centre-back, I'd go with Conser more so than... because I'd just like to see Declan Rice in that middle rather than losing... Obviously, I know Anderson and Bellingham played well yesterday, but I just think moving Declan Rice out of there completely, I think we'd probably lose too much rather than moving Conser out there.
Well, on that, Jason, I think because I don't think you need two holding midfielders against DR Congo. I think that, that if you go Elliott, Anderson and Rice, I think you're going to lose something elsewhere on the pitch, attacking minded, So, look, it's only we're batting around some small details, but it could be a very vital. I think England have to. And I watched DR Congo. I worked on their game, and I thought Portugal got caught up with having too much possession in bad areas that didn't really hurt DR Congo.
Yeah, I see the same game, and I think sometimes it's great having possession, but Portugal didn't really do a lot with that possession apart from go sideways, and obviously they got caught out. So I'd like to think that with that one, we would be more on the front foot of being more direct rather than like statistically saying, oh, we've had like 70% of the ball. That's no good if you're not really doing a great deal when you've got it.
Jason, while we got you, just quickly, Rashford or Gordon to start against DR Congo?
Rashford for me. I just think that I'm not criticising Gordon, but I just think out of the games that I've watched of England, Rashford has to look the more direct and the one who's more likely to do something on the game at the moment.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think Rashford was a really bright spark in that position. He looked much more direct. He got an early shot off on target, sort of made it known that he was there. I think he's done enough to start. Great call, Jason. Appreciate you getting in touch. 03717 22 England fans, what do you make of the defensive issues that England currently have, looking a bit open, looking a little bit leaky? Thankfully, Panama weren't able to exploit that. How do you want Thomas Tuchel to manage it? Because we're in a position now where we can't call up any more players. Keep those calls coming in. We're going to look ahead to the co-host Canada coming up in a moment. But first, here's what's coming up on talkSPORT today. So from 10 a.m, it's the warm-up with Max Rushton and Charlie Baker. Then we've got the World Cup Weekender with Adam Catterall and Sean Dyche. That's 1 p.m. till 4. Interesting to see what Dyche makes of those defensive issues. Madge and Pards then are back with a World Cup Game Day Live from 4 p.m. And then the first knockout game around 32. Ollie Klink presents Canada versus South Africa starting from 7 p.m. And then the Sports Bar boys, Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy, taking all your calls 10 p.m. till late. Be sure to keep it talkSPORT to make sure you never miss a thing during this World Cup and beyond. Now, of course, we're going to react to more of the final group stage games later on, but now it's time to look ahead on High Pressure Picks with Shaw.
High Pressure Picks on talkSPORT with Shaw. Non-stop protection deodorant that won't ever let you down.
Yeah, one of the co-hosts, Canada, taking on South Africa in LA. Canadian journalist Ariel Helwani, big Forest fan, by the way, joined Will Gavin on the S Word podcast and said that Canada has been given unfair treatment on where they have to play.
I think it's insane that we're having to play in LA in our knockout stage game. That's nuts as a host.
You'd be at home if you won your group, Ariel. You'd be at home.
Yeah, could have drew against Switzerland. Could have drew against Switzerland.
What does that mean? What does that mean? If the United States wouldn't have won their group, would they have been at home? Yes, they would have been at home. So why don't we get the same respect? I don't think that's fair.
We just have better facilities. We have more facilities. Yeah, we have more stadiums.
What do you mean better facilities? BC Place, tremendous. BMO Field in Toronto, tremendous. They should have known that Switzerland is probably winning that group. You're right. We should have beaten Bosnia and we should have beaten Switzerland. We should have never been in that position to begin with. 6-0 against Qatar. How about that shellacking? But the point is, as a co-host, you should at least get one knockout stage game at home. I think that's not too much to ask.
Canadian journalist, Forest fan Ariel Helwani speaking to the S Word, which is available from 1 till 3 p.m, 7 days a week on talkSPORT's YouTube channel. But now let's cross over live to Canada, chat with our Canadian football correspondent, my mate Steve Forbes. How you doing, Steve?
Hi, Steve.
Yeah, not bad, Max. How's things?
Yeah, we're doing well, mate. We're doing well. Now, of course, we've been talking about England, we've been talking about Scotland, but the knockout rounds begin tonight. Round of 32, Canada against South Africa. I mean, it's a decent draw. I know they're not on home turf anymore, but you know, it's a good game for them. What's the sort of feeling been like in Canada that they've made their first ever knockout round in a World Cup?
I think there's a sense of immense pride about it, Max, and really there's a bit of expectation now around the game against South Africa. For Canada, getting, having the World Cup on home soil, I think people enjoy the spectacle of it, everything that goes around it, that kind of World Cup fever aspect. Certainly in Vancouver, people have been coming out in their droves to the games around BC Place. It's been packed, filling out all the bars, etc. And I think at the start of the tournament, when they were playing Bosnia in Toronto, obviously I wasn't there. I was on the west coast in Vancouver, but people were enjoying that one. I went to a watch party on Granville Island, a lovely area in Vancouver, and they're really getting into it. And you felt like for a hockey country, they're really adopting soccer, as it were. And then the games in Vancouver, I think, just really gave it more of the sense that this was a huge deal for them. Getting the 6-0 win over Qatar was amazing. A great atmosphere there, and then even the game against Switzerland, which they didn't win, you still felt that they were so happy to not only have got their first ever World Cup point in the group, but their first ever World Cup win and getting out of the group at the same time, and there was almost like, well, we could win this group. And you still in a group with two teams with massive European experience or massive World Cup experience over them. Now they're into the round of 32. They've got South Africa. And it's almost like we should be making the round of 16 now. Which is kind of crazy, really. But I think when I've seen them play, South Africa aren't all that. Canada are actually very good on the ball. They set the tempo in games. They're great going forward, but they are a bit sus on the counter, which I think they'll have to work on. Jesse Marsh, throughout the group stages in the press conference, was saying that the number one goal really was to win the group eventually. Maybe after that first game against Bosnia, he was saying that. And that's because of the home soil advantage. They would have been staying in Vancouver for the round of 32, and should they have won that, stayed in Vancouver for the round of 16. But they're still on the West Coast. They're not too far away. Promise David, after the Switzerland game in the mix zone, was saying that it's only a slightly longer flight, so he's not too worried about it at all. But I think for Canadians, maybe we'll see a slight drop off in the amount of people paying attention because it isn't in Canada. I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens later on. It would have been nice, but I still think that they've got enough in that squad to get past South Africa, and then hopefully that feeling, that World Cup fever, will still linger around on the West Coast in Canada, with this team progressing further.
Well, I'll add to that, Steve. I actually think Larin and Jonathan David up front, they can give teams problems, and they've showed that already.
Yeah, they certainly can. Jonathan David got the hat-trick against Qatar. Larin scored against Bosnia and then get another goal in that game at BC Place too. Jonathan David can blow hot and cold, though. I think that's the issue. Jesse Marsch really likes him, refers to him affectionately as Johnny anytime he speaks about him in the press conferences and on the media days. But I think you get maybe a bit more dynamism with Promise David up top. He was great when he came on against Switzerland. But Jonathan David, known as the Iceman, really clinical in front of goal on his day. But it's one thing scoring a hat-trick against Qatar, and it's another thing doing it against slightly better opposition. Carl Larin, I think, has had a decent tournament. They've been very reliable, strong, holds the ball up well. As a partnership, you would maybe expect a little bit more out of them together. I think that Jesse Marsch will stick with that pairing. But Promise David is a great option to come off the bench, I think. And, if Jonathan David isn't firing against South Africa, they do definitely have options to come off and help.
Yeah, look, it's a winnable game. That's for sure. And I think you look at a lot of these host countries. You've got USA, have got Bosnia, Mexico, Ecuador's probably the most difficult one for the co-host. But I certainly think that with the attacking play, some of the attacking play we've seen from Jesse Marsch's Canada, I think that they're well within a chance of getting through to the round of 16, which I don't think many people would have said at the beginning of the tournament. Steve, mate, thanks so much for joining us. Absolute pleasure, bud.
No worries, man. Anytime.
Bye-bye.
Take care, boys.
That's Steve Forbes, our Canadian football correspondent. That was a look ahead with Shaw, non-stop protection deodorant that won't ever let you down.
High pressure picks on talkSPORT with Shaw, official sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. Next up, we're going to delve into the best of the back pages.
When you look at Scotland over the 3 games, David, what is your overall assessment and takeaway? I mean, most of us looked at it and felt that Morocco and Brazil would be a reach to get anything from, and that the outcome of the Haitian game would be important and that goals needed to be scored. Criticism is being made of Steve Clarke. I'm not asking you to jump on the bandwagon, but the manner in which Scotland have played, the lack of bravery, the fact that they've been very negative in lots of people's minds, and Steve is a defensive coach. When you hear all those things, what's your assessment of these 3 games and the opportunities that Scotland have either taken or missed?
Yeah. Well, we spoke the other day. I think the biggest word what you're missing here, Simon, is quality. I don't think Scotland have the quality at the moment available to them to compete. I'm not saying that on the odd day that you wouldn't beat one of these teams and get good results, which we did against Denmark, for example, when we get through those games. But I just feel that generally Scotland have been short at that level. We talked about it a few days ago when we were talking about the Haiti game and only winning 1-0. We all felt it was a really good result. Not a really good result, but a good result because we had got 3 points. But you were right in what you were saying. We probably needed to score 3 or 4 goals. But I don't think MD, who's played Haiti yet, or certainly Morocco, have found it that easy.
Yeah, good morning. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast on your smart TV, on the radio, on YouTube, and 1,000 people supposedly watching on TikTok. Happy days. talkSPORT up with a new generation. And here are some of your other headlines beside England, beside Steve Clarke, your other headlines you're waking up to this morning. Algeria and Austria produced an absolutely incredible finish. 3-3 as both sides secured the point they need to reach the World Cup knockout stages and eliminated in the process Iran. DR Congo set up a last 32 meeting with England by reaching the knockouts for the first time as they came from behind to beat Uzbekistan. And recent reports, listen to this, suggest that FIFA's considering expanding the World Cup format even further to 64 teams as early as 2030. Yes, the next World Cup. And yesterday, Simon Jordan said it's an idea he's not totally against.
And there's something about that I quite like. Look, people can make the argument, this is a carnivore sport, and football being the biggest sport in the world, and expanding it and broadening it, I don't think is an offence. If you don't want to watch certain games, don't watch it.
That's right.
You know, if the broadcasters don't want to pick up the broadcasting rights to watch XYZ country against XYZ country, they don't have to.
Yeah, but Simon, there's got to be a limit.
Why?
Surely.
Well, 64 teams in a Swiss League format, it's somewhat similar to the Champions League. Where's the problem?
Where's the problem, says Simon Jordan, on a 64-team World Cup. Can you see any problems on the horizon with that, Cass?
Well, I said to you before, the expansion, me and you chatted about it, that I was for it because of the infrastructure that we've seen, that other countries now can produce really decent teams and give everybody an opportunity. It's a World Cup. You're excluding certain teams, and there is a system in place that you still have to qualify. So I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Cape Verde, for example. Cape Verde have convinced me single-handedly that, this has been a good idea. I wonder if 64 teams may be a little bit too far, maybe too many games.
It'd be hard not to qualify, wouldn't it?
Well, that's the thing. Everyone's going to be there. Then it was...
I want to go, though.
I don't know, I just get a bit
I'm at the sit here this year watching an island not participate.
Yeah, well, you'll definitely get a chance there, mate. But then it sort of maybe does it undervalue and undermine the sort of qualification process and how good you need to be to get to a World Cup. Maybe it dilutes it a little bit, and there'd be so many games that people just wouldn't watch necessarily. But it's probably going to happen because FIFA know the revenue that it can create, but also the trickle down effect of that on smaller nations like Curacao, like Cape Verde. So it's probably going to happen, and there's nothing we can do about it, whether we like it or not. But right now, we're going to delve in to the back pages. Here comes our producer, Gabs. Come on then, Gabs. How much sleep did you get last night?
I feel like a zombie. I'm not gonna lie to you boys. I'm tired. I watched football last night. I am. Even though I look like a young man, my eyes are very heavy right now. But it's been a good World Cup, innit? It's been good. Group stages have been really good.
Yeah, the group stages have been good.
I want to get into this story, actually. We were just talking about what Simon Jordan was talking about there in regards to expansion, potentially, of the World Cup. There's an interesting piece that is in the Sunday Telegraph from Tim Wigmore. This World Cup shows Europe's golden age of sport has ended. From summer tournament to the LA Olympics to rugby union to cricket, all being, starting to be broadcasted and played in the US. The US is alluring the biggest events as, it says here, money talks. Now, he does maintain that in this article, there's a lot of traditionalism and obviously there's a lot of heavy fan culture when it comes to sports like your rugby, your cricket, this football especially when it comes to Europe. However, we've seen it in the last, few World Cups where they've been held. You think of Qatar, you think of America now, you think of in 2034 it's going to go to Saudi Arabia, which are not historically, footballing nations, but, they're powerhouses when it comes to trying to put on the biggest events, make things as grandiose as possible. And, I just want to get your take on this, just because I do side with Tim Wigmore in the sense that he does say that Europe, because of the traditional sense and how deep rooted it is within this sport, it will take a long time before we see the likes of America and Saudi Arabia, Qatar, be the dominant forces in this sport. But I wanted to get your take in regards to where maybe things are going, because it does make some good points here, Cass.
Yeah, Well, sorry, I was lost. I was writing some information down.
No, I was just saying in regards to the power nations, in regards to the US, Saudi Arabia,
Yes.
Qatar,
All right, okay.
getting involved in sport and potentially, one day
Absolutely.
usurping, Europe in regards to being where sport is supposed to be like, sacred in a sense.
The World Cup is growing at an alarming rate. We just talked, Gab, about numbers. How many do you think were in the first World Cup in 1930? How many teams?
16? 12?
Amazingly, 13.
Wow.
13. It's
Wow.
an odd number. It was 13. By 1934, there were 16 teams, right? So the World Cup has been growing all along. It's okay at different periods. It's kept 16 teams, and then it's expanded, and now it's gone again. But the money in look, the World Cup is the biggest tournament, bigger than the Olympics, in my opinion. And it's going to keep growing, and there's going to be the major countries who want to be part of it. That's obvious. That's why sport's such a big thing.
It's good that the World Cup goes around the world. It has to. It's the World Cup.
Yeah.
Of course, it has to go to every different continent. Part of me feels for the sake of the fans and for the sake of...
But the original one wasn't every continent.
Yeah, fine. I mean, that doesn't mean that.
No.
Therefore, it shouldn't. I just think for the sake of fans and logistics and the cost, stop asking fans to fly everywhere to games. Put it in one footballing country. I don't mind. It's great that it's in the US. There's lots of questions, lots of moral questions about the fact it's been in Qatar, that it's going to Saudi Arabia, and the sort of political relationships that Gianni Infantino's forging between FIFA and some of these nations. But fine, it goes there. And, the people I know that went to Qatar, they loved it because it's a small place. They can get everywhere. And there was that real sense of World Cup fever. What I wouldn't mind, though, stick it in Spain. And I know it's going to Spain, Portugal, Morocco. Stick it in Poland. Put it in one place that's a footballing nation and let fans go to that one place and not fleece them.
The only trouble with that, and you're right to a degree, Spain have got the infrastructure to do it. There's many countries that haven't.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's great,
that's the issue.
And that's a great thing about the World Cup, that it can go and develop infrastructure. But let's not lie. The Saudis don't need the money for the infrastructure. They're doing it themselves. The States don't, because they're already a sporting nation that isn't football. Why not? Yeah, I just like the idea of it occasionally, please, being in one country which is a football nation, and then there's loads of benefits.
Yeah. Say if you said then, okay, let's go to a country that's been in many World Cups. If you go Croatia, would they be able to hold a World Cup?
Why not? They're a footballing nation, and it might not be the
it's a big arse though.
They're not going to do it because the stadiums aren't big enough, and they're not going to make as much revenue. And so these nations which love football, that produce world class players like Croatia, for example, isn't. Yeah. I wouldn't mind it. Croatia's a beautiful country.
Yeah. Just because I know we're short for time as well, there is another story that's doing the rounds in the Sun about Chelsea. In regards to Xabi Alonso, of course, starts his work on Wednesday. Obviously, he's been announced as the latest Chelsea boss after, the diabolical situation that was Enzo Maresca and Chelsea last season. Somebody has popped up in the pipeline as somebody who could be a potential signing for them in the form of Sunderland's Granit Xhaka. And this is very interesting, Cass, just because you think of what Chelsea have been over the last few years in regards to their model in signing players pretty much 22, 23 and under. Xhaka is nowhere near that kind of model. So it kind of shows you that they've already changed it in regards to bringing in a Xabi Alonso who likes a little bit more control and say-so in regards to how a club is run. And now it looks like the transfer strategy might be changing as well, bringing in
Well, it should do.
Xhaka.
You should never rule out experienced players that can give a lot to a football team. I think it's absolute madness that you just go on potential. You need proven and a player that can come into a dressing room and also be a weapon for the manager to go, to run the dressing room. And I don't mean in a bad way. Look at what Xhaka's gone to Sunderland, and quite clearly he had a massive influence at Arsenal, Xhaka, even though when he moved from the club, he went off to Bayer Leverkusen, and exactly the same thing with Alonso. And he's probably thinking, well, this guy will make sure everything that happens in the dressing room he's not a spy, but he's going to be driving that dressing room to do the right things, the professional things that make it a good football team. You need them. I always say when, Gary McAllister went to Liverpool at 35, he had a young Steven Gerrard alongside him, and it was a great signing, made Steven Gerrard grow immediately. Yeah. You need them type of figures in the club. You don't need all of them, but certainly some of them will make a massive difference. It's something it was a flawed idea by Chelsea to just go young, young, young. It's wrong. It's the same as if you just went old, old, old. It would be a flawed idea.
Yeah.
You've got to have it mixed up slightly.
It's almost, it's a bit like you say, never go young, 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 never go old, 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 never go centre back at right back, centre back at right back, centre back at right back. Thomas Tuchel, please start right back at right back. Yeah, on the latest, just an update on that. Our sources at talkSPORT telling us that Granit Xhaka is keen on that move. Sunderland do not want to sell, so we'll see how this one plays out. But you'd imagine the big boys, as we know, Gabs, generally get what they want.
I wonder what the Arsenal fans feel like, by the way. I know they booted him out the door, but
Arsenal fans, they've won the league. They've got Declan Rice. You know, Granit Xhaka's a top player, great leader, done unbelievable things with Leverkusen and Xabi Alonso. But I think they'll be that bothered. You know, absolutely. Gabs, absolute pleasure, mate. Great stories bringing in there. You're listening to the Weekend World Cup Breakfast. We're going to chat more England next. What can we expect from the Free Lions in the knockout stages? Come on, boys.
You mentioned him there, right, and about Nico O'Reilly. Now, obviously, the manager made a change because he saw something in Ghana and he thought Spence would have been a better option. But you would have watched Nico week in, week out. Does it faze him, whoever he's playing against, however quick they are, strong they are? Is he just the perfect left back in terms of playing against anyone?
I tell you what is the difference between Nico and Jed Spence. Nico will get you a goal. He will get you a ghosting and get you a goal.
Yeah.
I haven't seen enough of Jed Spence. I'm not Tottenham fan. I haven't seen enough of him, so I don't know. But being biased, he'd be the first name on the City team sheet, never alone the England team sheet. So, and when he came on, he had one of the two best chances. So, I wouldn't be quick to drop Nico. He's whatever he might lack as a fullback, he'll give you going forward the other way.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And he's fearless. He's fearless on the ball. You know, he can dribble like a midfielder. You know, he's a top player.
Let's sort of move it on to City while staying with England. You are edging closer to a deal for Elliot Anderson. And I said before the window opened, if United could buy one player that would be gettable, it would be Elliot Anderson. I'm not too sure about the price tag. I don't know what that's going to be. I know Forest have...
If there's one thing Brazil loves more than samba and sunshine... football, or as they call it, futebol. And trust me, this love story goes way back. It all started in 1884 when a young Brazilian named Charles Miller returned from England aged 21 carrying a pair of footballs and a Hampshire FA rulebook. He was basically the original influencer, bringing back trends from abroad. And just like that one mate who insists you have to try their new obsession, Miller convinced everyone to give this little English sport a go. Spoiler alert, it caught on. The entire nation fell head over boots for the game. And fast forward a few decades, it was time for Brazil to start playing in the World Cup. Then came 1958, the year a 17-year-old kid named Pelé showed up and said, "Don't worry, I got this." Brazil won its first World Cup and respectively put down its mark on the global football stage. From there, Brazil kept adding stars to the jersey. 1958, 1962, 1970, 1994, 2002, making it the only country with 5 World Cup titles and the only country to participate in every tournament. Not that they like to brag or anything. Okay, maybe a little. And the style? Pure magic. Jogo bonito, the beautiful game. It became Brazil's signature. Think dazzling footwork, joyful play, and the occasional move that makes you wonder if gravity just took the day off. Today, football isn't just a sport in Brazil. It's part of the national identity. From street games played with anything even slightly round to packed stadiums exploding with colour and noise, Brazil lives and breathes football. So, the next time you see that iconic yellow jersey, just remember, it all started with one guy, 2 footballs, and a nation ready to fall in love.
Good morning, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast Show on talkSPORT. I'm Max Scott, alongside me is former Chelsea and Celtic striker Tony Cascarino, and it might have taken them 45 minutes to warm up, but England topped their group yesterday with that 2-0 win over Panama. Here's how it sounded at full-time.
And the full-time whistle blows, and England have won the group, which is what they set out to do.
A few weeks after signing a 4-year contract extension, Steve Clarke's resigned as head coach following their exit from the World Cup. Mark McGee spoke to the Sports Bar this morning about that decision.
He would sense that he's lost the trust of the Tartan army. I think there was a bit of a backlash, and I think the backlash wasn't temporary.
Scotland fans, you can get in touch with us. How do you feel about that? Are you thankful for what he's done? Or you think it's the right decision or a little bit too soon? And then finally, Lionel Messi made history again, becoming the first man to score in 7 consecutive World Cup final matches. Here's how that sounded on talkSPORT.
Left-footed shot, and there it is! History once again for Lionel Messi!
So much to discuss. Huge show ahead. Send us a text 81089 or give us a call on 03717 22 3344. This is the Weekend World Cup Breakfast on talkSPORT. OK, then, of course, we're continuing to look back on England's performance against the Panamanians last night. But first, Cass, we've just been speaking about the World Cup expansion.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit dubious about it. I'm fine with it. I kind of want it to be in a host nation. But your point is the World Cup's always been expanding.
Yes, it has. And I mentioned that there were 13 teams in 1930. In 1934, there were 16 teams, no group games, only last 16, and then they had the third place playoff. So there were 17 matches, right? So then you go from 34. Obviously, there was the war that got in the way between 38 and 50. But by the 50, there was still only 13 teams in the competition, right? Then it went to 16 in 54 that stayed until literally 16 teams stayed until 1982. Then it got expanded to 24 in 82. Next change was 1998, the French World Cup.
Yeah.
32 teams. So there was 8 more teams added from that period, from 1982 to 1998. So it's always been expanding. So it's no surprise that it's going to keep doing this because of the growth of the game. And also, FIFA, if you go through the numbers of what revenue it's generated, it is extraordinary, Max.
Yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's some revenue available in football.
No group games. In the early ones, and no group games. Some of the years are just straight knockout. Last 16, so you're going for one game, really. You get knocked out, you're gone.
81089, what do you think? Do you like the idea of a 64-team World Cup? Let us know. Cass is in favour of it. But we're going to continue now looking at England's performance against Panama last night. Is that just what England needed to kick on ahead of the knockout stages?
Start spreading the news. We'll play the team that are third in Group K, as Frank Sinatra didn't quite sing.
Hard match, difficult match against a physical team, played as underdogs. We were the favourites, so...
The longer it stays 0-0, the more patience will be needed. Panama haven't conceded a first-half goal in the tournament so far.
But, we kept going, we stuck at it, and in the second half we started fantastic and took the game away from them.
As England swing another ball in, Kane might break his way, and he's somehow bobbled onto the roof of the net.
Yeah, but I tell you what, within the next 10 minutes, England will make the breakthrough.
Corner comes in. Oh, it is in! Jude Bellingham comes up trumps. Relief! Utter relief!
You could just sniff that goal coming, you really could.
Bellingham twisting left-hand side of the box, clipping it in for Kane! There it is! Kane, the dependable captain, with more goals now in England's World Cup history than anybody else.
Knockout football is coming. The tournament starts completely new. It will bring the best out of us.
Come on, let's do the Congo. 2-0 to England here in New Jersey.
Yeah, during that game, Harry Kane became England's record World Cup goal scorer as they recovered from that unconvincing start to finish off Panama topping Group L. DR Congo up next in the round of 32. And England winger Marcus Rashford, who for me and Cass really performed and justified his starting position, spoke to talkSPORT after the game and praised Tuchel and the mentality he's brought to this squad.
I think that the last couple of tournaments we've been in a good place. The one difference I see is the manager. He doesn't rest on anything, so he's not going to settle at 2-0 like today. He wants us to go and score more goals, and that's just his personality and the way he sees the game. So for the attackers, it's great because we want to just score as many goals as we can, help create as many goals as we can, and try and blow away teams because we're really capable of it.
Marcus Rashford praising Thomas Tuchel there. We heard in the package Thomas Tuchel says the knockout stages are going to bring the best out of England. And this, I guess, Cass, is where you can say Thomas Tuchel, we'll see if he's worth it. We'll see if he's worth, that risk of bringing in a non-English manager replacing Gareth Southgate, because it's all about England getting over the line in these high-pressure moments.
Yeah, well, look, when you're in the group phase, Max, and we talked about England and their frailties, as you mentioned, but they conceded only goals against Croatia, 2 goals. Mm-hmm. So in 3 games, they conceded 2. Now, obviously, Croatia were the next best team to England in that group, okay? So when you get to the knockout stage, you're now playing teams that are a better level and are going to ask you way more questions, and you are going to find it harder to get the better and create chances yourself, because that's what they do. So the knockout stages really define the tournament for me. This is what happens.
For 90 minutes against Ghana and 45 against Panama, England really struggled against that low block. Panama not as low as Ghana, but they obviously got the job done in the second half. Is it fair to say, Cass, that actually England might fare better against teams that don't sit back, that have got a bit more of an idea of playing their own game?
Max, you said earlier about Gareth and and what happened with England at times, and Gareth got to a final and a semi-final. Look, I'd say England might be the team that defend against somebody else. They might play Spain and end up having banks of 4 and a 5 to stop Spain or to stop France. So you're going to come up against different problems tactically. Now,
do you think that will suit England better?
Well, I'd like to think if they've got pace out wide, yes.
Yeah.
If the pace is there, which I think Saka, Rashford, Gordon, it might sort Gordon out way better. He's had a really poor tournament. Yeah. Okay. But because if there's space behind and he can run into it because the opposition is prepared to commit fullbacks forwards or wing backs, then you've got a chance. And it might suit him better to come off the bench or, it's a really weird one, Max, because the 2 times I went to World Cup in 94 and 90, I sat and you watch and then you come up. We played Norway in America. Then we played, obviously we went down to play Mexico as well. But we then got the Dutch, who were a really good side at that time. That was a completely different game for us.
Yeah.
They were just so good in they had people like Overmars and, really high level forwards. So I always think once you get to knockout stages, there was way different problems than we think. It's not like a group phase game. It's knockout, you're gone the next day. If you get beat, that's it.
I just get the feeling that the likes of Harry Kane, who scored 3 goals, but he's been pretty quiet. He's not had a lot of the ball. I think more so in that first game, but he's been kept quite quiet in the last 2 games. I just feel that against teams that, like you say, are going to commit fullbacks, someone like Harry Kane's going to have more.
Well,
space,
Morocco would do it. You get Morocco, I guarantee you. I'm just picking teams. I know they're not on the same side of the draw, but if you're getting teams like that, or are going, do you know what? We're going to commit bodies forward, and now you're going to deal with it. That's a different problem for Thomas Tuchel. He in the group phase, he's looking at teams that are probably, Panama did it to a degree, and Ghana did it brilliantly. Okay, but that was defending. Now there's Brazil are not going to defend against you unless it's the 1994 Brazil who had a style with Dunga in their midfield and literally were playing low block and Brazil, and they won it. But you're not going to get that. You're going to get teams that are going to come after you. What did Croatia do in the second half to England in the 2018 World Cup? They wasn't the best team in the world at that time.
Yeah.
First half, they were quite poor. England dominated. Suddenly, change of tactics. Croatia had come after England. And then England couldn't handle it in 18. That's why they lost the semi-final.
Yeah. Look, big England news, obviously, big reaction to what we saw against Panama last night, but also huge breaking news overnight was the news regarding Steve Clarke. Despite signing a 4-year contract extension after the fallout from and the disappointment from not qualifying for the knockout stages, he's resigned. Delighted to say that James, the Partick Thistle fan, has called us. James, thanks for getting in touch, mate. What do you make of this decision? Are you happy with it? Do you think it's the right time for Clarke to leave?
I wouldn't say happy, but I think it's the right decision. It's one of these mixed emotions.
Yeah. I thought that earlier, James, when when it happened. I think Steve's in that position of mixed emotions and probably felt may better served, calling it a day, even though he'd signed a 4-year deal.
No, definitely. He's obviously, well, you heard his press conferences after the Brazil game. You could tell that he was just as disappointed as anyone really when it came down to it. It just obviously you don't know who to blame. It's like the players didn't turn up, which was a bit strange considered they seem to be a good atmosphere. Because you go back to Tony's team, and I remember 1990, and it was like they were greater than the sum of their parts, and that's not a criticism. That was just the way Jack Shackleton had his boys set up. We were less than the sum of our parts, you could argue. I don't know if that's...
No, I think that's a fair shout, mate, because you look at some of the players playing top-level European football, I can see, I think that's a fair assessment, and that's what was so disappointing, that this manager that had done such an amazing job getting you qualified in a really difficult World Cup qualification group, that then it felt a little bit toothless going into the tournament. But I know this is early, and I know sort of Steve Clarke, regardless of what's happened this World Cup, is a legend. He's been incredibly successful. But is there anyone in particular, a type of manager or a name that comes to mind instantly that would be a good replacement?
It's like instantly you think somebody like David Moyes, but realistically he's not going to go. It's like even not while he's in the Premier League. It's like Steve Clarke. He's probably getting wages some managers get in the top of League One, bottom of the Championship.
Yeah.
They're paying $500,000 a year roughly, and it's like you're not going to get. Well, maybe ironically, Steve Clarke with his qualifications has kind of swelled the coffers a bit of the SFA after they were pretty much skint. They've made, I don't know how much it is, but 20 million plus from the World Cup or something. So maybe they'll untie the purse strings a bit,
yeah.
But then again,
well, look, you mentioned Moisey there, James. You mentioned Moisey. I mean, if it's true that they've got that money in their coffers, maybe they can afford him. I mean, Castle, you don't think he's
no
in the Premier League club?
Absolutely no chance.
But I tell you what, Cass, one name I know we're late to the break, but
he might have it down the line, but he's not going to do it now.
What about Darren Fletcher, Scotsman? He's managed Manchester United. He's held it in high regard as a coach. Think that'd be a good shout?
I don't know. I don't know really how good Darren is. I mean, it's hard to predict, Max, on the next manager of Scotland. It's one of them. It's up in the air, and I don't think the Scottish FA probably have much idea who to go for at the minute.
No, but if they're tuning in,
have to do interviews.
If they're tuning in, give Darren Fletcher a look. I think it's
well, yeah. Right. Look, I don't know Darren's achievements in the game. I know he's been in coaching, but I don't really know whether he's ready for the Scotland job. I always think mainly, not always, but mainly, you need an experienced manager who's been around the block and done a number of jobs, probably beyond the age of 50, to have that job. I mean, I know there's ones that haven't got to that age, but generally I would say international football is that.
Yeah, and it's a difficult old job, but I think Darren Fletcher would be a good shout. Young Scottish manager, held in high regard, but I digress. Coming up next, we're going to chat some MotoGP and we'll tell you how you can win 26 grand. You're listening to the Weekend World Cup Breakfast on talkSPORT.
I just think our options, like we bring O'Reilly on, he gets the header in the box late on. You start putting bodies in the box against these low defensive block teams. Like it was calling out for Tony to come on for me, get more bodies in the box, because we had players come on, put more crosses in the box. Saka come on and made an impact, I thought. But I just think Saka and Rashford has to start.
take the skipper off if he does.
So that was John Terry, sitting exactly where Sam is this morning. This clamour for Rashford, you've got a view in that, haven't you?
Well, I just don't remember the last time Rashford started a game for England was particularly impactful. It's always the way, whatever you haven't got is what you cry out for when you don't get the outcomes that you want. The main thrust of England's game was they didn't fizz the ball around. If you move the ball quickly, you move people around. And it was interesting that they put Saka on, which I think makes a lot of difference when he comes on because he's a clever player, he creates outcomes. And the numbers that he throws out on the field are quite staggering when he's actually on the field. And then he shifted Madueke dug outside so that the coach could be in his ear driving him forward. I think the other thing, I think Rashford comes on as an impact player. If you're playing the last 20 minutes of a game and Rashford comes on with a wild hair up his backside because he hasn't been in the side, he's been replaced by Anthony Gordon at Barcelona and England and wants to play, which is the Rashford that we've got.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Win 26 grand in your hand, courtesy of talkSPORT Win.
Yeah, it's competition time now, and to celebrate, we're giving you the chance to win £26,000 cash, and it's completely tax-free right in your back pocket. So what are you waiting for? Enter right now. Here is how. For your chance to win, visit talksportwin.com or text WIN to 83338 by 6 p.m. on the 20th of July 2026. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or you can send your name and number by post to Comp1 PO Box 3190 Colchester CO2 8GP to arrive by midnight on the 23rd of July 2026. 18 plus UK residents only. So for your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 now. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksportwin.com. Now we're getting lots of Scotland texts in. 81089 Stephen says, feel sorry for Steve Clarke. A lot of them players just didn't turn up for the occasion. And we've had, Michael the Morecambe fan says, no Scotland, let's party. But I say commiserations for Scotland. Their World Cup dream, of course, is officially over, failing to qualify as a third-place team, and had to put into perspective just how much of a miracle was needed for the Tartan Army to get through. Jamie O'Hara yesterday on Game Day Live listed things that were more likely to happen.
More likely to see snow today.
Don't make me laugh.
Yeah.
Honestly, sweltering out there, Joe.
Yeah, no, mate. You got more chance of it
chance.
snowing.
In London.
In London today. Here's another one for you. I've done the numbers on this one.
Go on.
Typing out the complete works of Shakespeare without making a single typo.
Oh, mate.
0.01%.
Jeez.
No.
So there's still a chance, Jay. That's what I like about this. They're hanging in there by the feet.
Hanging in there, mate.
Like a fingernail.
Still a chance.
Okay.
Here's another one for you.
Go on.
All right. Seeing a great white shark in the River Thames. 0.04%.
Is that true?
Mate, good stats.
Is that a true stat?
Yeah, we've crunched the numbers here.
Okay.
Done, mate.
All right, God, these are good.
13% chance of this happening. This
13?
13% chance, yeah. This is
Go on.
being attacked by a beaver.
Jeez. What, in London?
Yeah.
London?
Mate, watch the old beavers out there.
True, getting tapped by beavers, 13%.
13%.
I like those odds.
The sports bar boys know what they're doing. They know how to wind up. wind them up, don't they? You just asked me to Google something.
The chance of seeing a Komodo dragon.
The chances of seeing
a Komodo dragon in London or the Thames.
Well, there's probably one at the zoo in there.
No, it wasn't a zoo. You wouldn't have.
Oh, wait, it says your chance. I said Komodo dragon chances of seeing in London. Your chances of seeing a Komodo dragon in London are 100% guaranteed you can see him at the zoo. There you go.
Oh, right.
But anyway.
I weren't including zoos, by the way.
Poor old Scotland.
Can I just say on Scotland, you know, one of the things that no one's really talked about, no one talked all about the conditions of the World Cup and how difficult it is, which you experienced. I experienced it back in '94 in America and Florida. Well, Miami, for Scotland playing Brazil in Miami, honestly, they looked like they just had no gas at all to play.
I know.
The Scottish players, they look like that. Andy Robertson, I've never seen Andy look so tired in a game. He looked like he had no energy.
Yeah, no, lots of those players look shot. And
that is incredibly draining, you know, especially the South Americans generally. I know lots of them play in Europe, so they've, you know, and you go there and acclimatise. I get all of that. But there is a massive difference you're actually playing in them games.
But it's a level playing field. Everyone's got to play in those games. And I think, you know, it
wasn't a level playing field.
Stephen said the point, Cass. You know, feel sorry for Steve Clark. Those players didn't turn up. And you can say it's the heat.
Well,
Cape Verde got through in the heat.
Max, the one thing you said there, right? It isn't a level playing field. When we played Mexico at 12 o'clock midday with Ireland in '94, that wasn't a level playing field. The Mexicans run all day, and we acclimatised and couldn't get near them.
Okay, my point being, the climate affects everybody, and they weren't playing at altitude. And you could say, oh, well, Brazil are used to the heat, but, you know...
So why do Ecuador in the South Americas, why do they get so many points against their teams when they play at home? Their home records are extraordinary.
Well, maybe it's that, but the point is, everybody's playing in America, and I don't think you can say, oh, poor Scotland, they were playing in the heat.
No, I'm not saying poor Scotland. No, you're exaggerating. I'm trying to explain that it is very different, and America has a huge difference in climates. You know, in America. You know, in Florida, it's boiling hot in some parts. If you go to New York, it can still be hot, but it's nowhere near as hot as down in Florida. Now, some teams do get affected. I'm not making an excuse for them, but I did. When we played Mexico in '94 at 12 o'clock midday, Max, we were like, wow.
Yeah.
It was, even all the training, it still felt really tricky.
Well, somewhere where we know it's going to be hot is at the MotoGP Grand Prix in the Netherlands. Live on talkSPORT 2 today from 1 p.m. MotoGP is bringing the Dutch Grand Prix to central London today with a first-of-its-kind public watch party at the Outena Entertainment venue. Partnering with TNT Sports, the free immersive event is broadcast on Europe's largest 360-degree digital screens. This takeover marks the first of several UK activations designed to build massive fan momentum. Joining us now for more is MotoGP Global Marketing Managing Director Kelly Britton. Good morning, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. I mean, there's a lot of talk about MotoGP, and I find it's got interesting sort of symmetries to F1. We saw how Drive to Survive really sort of took off, you know, a new audience for F1. Is this sort of, you know, fan engagement stuff, this 360-degree happening in London, is that sort of MotoGP's version of sort of bringing the sport to a new audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, it will come via a number of sort of different channels, and we're also looking at sort of long form content and all those kind of things. But certainly what we wanted to do was bring the race to London outside of the race that we have in Silverstone in August. We wanted to bring it right into the middle of you know, this amazing city and give fans another reason to love it, really.
How does an event like this sort of put bums on seats? So you talk, you know, we talk about the Grand Prix at Silverstone. How does something like this and the work that you're doing in terms of engaging fans actually bring people to the race and sort of bring in a new generation of fans?
I think it's exactly your point, is that the new generation. MotoGP has an amazing kind of loyal fandom in the UK. But I think it was sort of bigger in the days of Barry Sheene and Rossi, and actually it's less on sports fans. It has been less on sports fans' agenda over the last few years, but this is about engaging the newer fans, who are sort of, you know, curious about it. They've heard a bit about it, but they don't really know what makes it so amazing. So it's a kind of a light touch, you know, low investment means of getting it in front of those people. So Silverstone is it's an hour out of London. You have to be a fan to and already know enough about the sport to get a ticket and to go out there. This is a very easy means of getting it in front of people. It's a bit of a, try before you buy.
Yeah, I like it. So tell us a bit more about the event that's happening in London.
So it, as you said, the race kicks off at 1, but the sort of activities there will be going all day. We're being supported by Monster as well, so there'll be refreshments on hand. It's been a little bit warm.
A little bit.
But
Slightly.
Look, I live in Madrid. It's
Oh, you're used to this then.
it's all relative. But the race, I think that the race is, as you say, it's a 360-degree screens across the ceiling as well. Wow. It's probably the most immersive way that you can experience this sport. And the race itself, like the riders, these guys are crazy. Yeah. They are the modern day gladiators. They're getting on those bikes and they are moving at 360 kilometers an hour, a lot of the time without blinking. They are just, they've evolved to be these kind of just another level of human beings, and what they can do and the degree at which they lean and go around those corners, and they're just sort of scraping their elbows and their knees on the floor. They're just, it is unlike any other sport that I've ever worked in. And I came from F1. So I was at Red Bull Racing before I came here, and those athletes, those drivers are incredible. But even F1 drivers will say that MotoGP is on another level completely.
Yeah, I can testify to that, and I like F1. But in terms of sort of like the speed, the danger, the amount of just takeovers, natural racing you see in MotoGP, you definitely get a lot more bang for your buck. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us. Absolute pleasure, and hopefully you get a packed house for this amazing event in London today.
Be great. Thanks for having me.
No worries. That is Kelly Britton, MotoGP's global marketing manager, speaking about that big event happening in central London. A reminder, live later today, the Netherlands MotoGP is on talkSPORT 2 from 1 p.m. And this weekend, MotoGP is bringing the Dutch Grand Prix to the heart of London on June the 28th. Today, with the sport's first public watch party, transforming the Outer Net in London into a full immersive race day experience surrounded by 360-degree race coverage. You can listen on talkSPORT 2 and watch on TNT Sports as well. This is the weekend World Cup breakfast on talkSPORT. We're going to chat with a South American expert about a certain little Argentinian.
Ronaldo is top, still top. But Haaland, for instance, is a better finisher.
Let me ask you this. In world football, I said this, Bentley, on yesterday's show, and I got a little bit of criticism. In his pomp, right? I'll ask you both. I'll start with Bentley.
I heard it.
I said R9 is a better finisher than Cristiano Ronaldo. He's a better striker, number 9.
Do you know what you said, right? And you said he was a better goal scorer.
Okay.
Right. Now, for me, R9 is a better centre forward. Like, I don't think it's even close. Right. But what people will do is look at the numbers. And this is where sometimes stats-wise, like the new generation will go, if I say R9's better than Ronaldo, Cristiano, they're going to go, are you crazy? He's got 1,000 goals. But sometimes it's not about just stats. It's about what does your eyes tell you. And anyone who's watched it, you would have watched him. R9 is the best centre forward I've ever seen.
R9, for me, that's my hero. He is... That's why I wanted to become a striker. You look at him, and Ronaldo has done absolutely magnificent. Yeah, and Ronaldo, it's all about numbers and goal scoring, and he's obsessed with that, and that makes him so good. But R9 is just phenomenal. He's just incredible.
Better.
Oh yeah, as a footballer,
Yeah.
so
You
much
both
more
agree with me on
natural.
that.
Yeah, but you said because the way you said goal scorer.
Yeah.
Now you can't compare the numbers because Ronaldo's
No, but
numbers are crazy.
you know what I mean? Like a better player.
Yeah,
as
if
a
I had-
number
Oh,
one.
he's a better player.
Yeah.
He's a better player. He's the things that he used to do, picking up the ball and dribbling. The goals that he scored for Barcelona. Oh my God.
Yeah, good morning. How you doing? Hope you're well. Thanks for joining us. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast. I'm Max Scott. I've got former Chelsea striker Tony Cascarino alongside me. And aside from the fact that England beat Panama 2-0 last night, of course, the big breaking news was that Steve Clarke has resigned. Been reading text out on 81089, WhatsApp 03717 223344, and largely been getting a lot of love for Steve Clarke from Scotland fans. But Greg in Edinburgh says, fantastic news to wake up with regards to Steve Clarke stepping down. The football we played with the players available was absolutely turgid to watch. 4 goals in 9 tournament games, one of which is just simply not good enough. The way he conducted himself after the games with the press was a disgrace for a man representing the country on the world stage. And in terms of replacements, we know it's early, but Stuart from Glasgow says, morning, gents. I'd go for Alex Neil as the new Scottish manager. Done brilliantly with Millwall with absolutely no money. Proves he can bring about the best in lesser players. Good knowledge of the EFL, so could maybe also find some gems in those leagues like Ollie McBurney, who are now, of course, is going to be playing Premier League football with Hull. Keep your messages coming in 81089. Text as well on WhatsApp 03717 223344. But it's time now to round up all the latest tournament action with Burger King.
The Breakfast Briefing on talkSPORT with Burger King Burger Buddies. Total tournament satisfaction delivered by the experts. Order now on the BK app.
Right, we're going to continue looking back at the group stages and then ahead to the knockout rounds. This time heading down to South America with the likes of Argentina beating Jordan 3-1, Colombia drawing 0-0 with Portugal. Both those South American sides topping their group. It's been strong group stages for that lot. So let's get into it and all that more with a South American football expert, host of the Copa Club podcast, Nathan Joyce. Nathan, how you doing, mate?
Hi, Nathan.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, it's been
A really good success story for 5 of the 6 South American nations, but I definitely would have taken that at the start of the World Cup. So yeah, happy to be here and really excited to talk about these nations.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, mate. I mean, can we start with Uruguay? We'll get to the positive stuff, but the Bielsa stuff, Valverde taken off, the goalkeeper, absolute howlers, him coming off at half time. I mean, it seems to be an absolute car crash, Nathan. What is going on?
I think there's been problems within Uruguay's camp for quite a long period of time. Even if we go all the way back to Copa America, they were one of the favourites to win that and came out third, which was okay. But post Copa America, it was a completely different Uruguay to the ones we saw beat Argentina in their own backyard, Brazil at home for the first time in a couple of decades. And look, they were the only nation going to this World Cup who didn't play a friendly in June. So they went into it without much preparation. There was question marks around the squad. They only had Darwin Núñez as their real out-and-out striker, and he barely played a minute for Al Hilal since February. So the squad just wasn't at it. There were still big names. They should have easily got through from this group. But Bielsa was experimenting with a new formation. He'd never played in the opening 45 minutes against Saudi. Why would you do that? There was just a lot of incidences which didn't quite make sense. And I think as soon as he'd lost the dressing room, and we've all seen the reports as to what happened post-match and pre-match with Spain and players walking out of meetings, it was always going to be an uphill battle. And the 2 draws were completely unacceptable, but maybe not entirely surprising because they've not been a good unit for quite some time now.
On a positive note, Nathan, because obviously Lionel Messi turned 39 in midweek, done what he does best, scored from a free kick, come on as a sub, 200 plus caps. I mean, tell us how Lionel Messi keeps doing. And to me, it's amazing that he's been able to do what he's done in the game for so long.
I think if I had the answer to that, I'll be a very rich man. It doesn't matter what age he is, he still has that hunger and that drive. But I think what works so well with Argentina, this has been a settled side now for at least 8 years. Very different to a lot of other South American nations coming into this. Obviously world champions, but Messi has that free role. There's so much attacking talent within Argentina's side that other nations have to worry about. You've got Thiago Almada, Nico Paz, Lautaro Martinez. So Messi just has this free role where he can just do what he wants, pick up the ball, and they just attack with such numbers and with pace, and obviously the quality there. Other nations just struggle, and against the likes of Algeria, Jordan, etc., they've had it easy so far. They've not had to step out of second gear, but that's just allowed Messi to do what he does best. And he's a freak. He's an alien. He's been called it all. But at the age of 39, what he's still doing, especially that free kick last night, I mean, he's probably 1 goal away from the golden boot already, which is crazy to say. But I think it's because of how settled they are and just the 4, 5, 6 that they have in the final third. So dangerous. Messi will always find space, and they'll make sure that they find space for him.
Nathan, I'm looking at the bracket, and I've got to say, for my money, Argentina have got the kindest route to the final. Of course, they've got Cape Verde. They'll play either Australia or Egypt. And then in the same sort of quarter of the bracket, Switzerland, Algeria, Colombia, and Ghana. Now, as the cliche goes, fine, there's no easy game in a World Cup, but the way Argentina are playing, like you say, playing together for 8 years, everything revolves around Messi. He's bagging the goals. It'd be a good bet to say they're going to get to the final.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's between them, France and Spain. But as you said, with that particular draw, he said there's no easy games in football. Well, they've got to play no one harder than they already have technically, to get to at least the quarterfinal stage. So, and they have a massive squad as well, huge depth. So they can rotate this side. They've already rotated the fullbacks. They rested a few players against Jordan as well. They have that luxury, and they're not playing for another 5 days as well. So it's looking really strong for Argentina, which goes to show, look, if you win your group, sometimes, maybe often, you are rewarded for it. So, look, world champions, nobody was going to want to face them, but that route looks incredibly generous for them.
Nathan, I'll give you a country, but how about Colombia if they get Argentina? Because I've seen them. I mean, the game last night against Portugal, Colombia, for me, with a way better side. Costa in goal for Spain produced a load of saves. So how would you see Colombia?
Be a repeat of the Copa
Portugal
America final.
Portugal last night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
A repeat of the Copa America final, which makes it really interesting. Colombia lost that one narrowly, so they'll be up for revenge. But they drew with Argentina in the qualifiers, 1-1 in Buenos Aires. I think they're one of a few nations that will really fancy the chances against Argentina. The way in which they can attack, similar to Argentina, they've got 4 or 5 really attacking players, and they can attack in numbers. Huge support wherever they go for this World Cup. The only question mark is their goalkeeper, Camilo Vargas, who did concede quite a clanger against Uzbekistan, but followed it up with 2 clean sheets. Wasn't really tested against Portugal, only had to make 2 saves last night. And they've just got numbers and intelligent players. James Rodriguez may not have the pace, but can pick a pass. Daniel Munoz is happy to play as a striker when they're on the ball. There's just options across the pitch here, and I think they are just going to suffocate teams. And I think Argentina are the one nation who probably wouldn't want to play Colombia and that side of the draw. So, yeah, that's a very, very intriguing fixture.
Yeah, it'd be fascinating to see how that one plays out. And it could well happen looking at the group, looking at that side of the bracket. They're the 2 best teams in there. Fascinating to see if that happens. Nathan, thanks so much for joining us. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, guys.
Cheers, Nathan.
That was South American football expert Nathan Joyce. Follow him on Twitter, by the way. He's brilliant. He knows his stuff. Host of the Copa Club podcast. Copa Mundial's
Copa, yeah.
Copa Club podcast. Brilliant stuff. That was a roundup of all the latest action. Thanks to Burger King.
The Breakfast Briefing on talkSPORT with Burger King Burger Buddies. Iconic winners delivered in the box every time. Order now on the BK app.
Loads more to come. Stay tuned. Other side of the break. You're listening to the Weekend World Cup Breakfast on talkSPORT.
Listen, I love him, and people have asked me would I take him at Arsenal 100%. But you look at the last 2 seasons, Real Madrid, and then you look at the last 2 seasons for PSG, the 2 Champions Leagues. They were chasing the Champions League for so long. He moves out, they win back to back. It just doesn't look well.
Yeah,
Mbappe, does it?
You could say that he's responsible for that, but in the meantime, when you see what Luis Enrique, the Paris Saint-Germain manager, has changed, the way the team has changed, the unity, everybody is playing for each other, they're fighting for each other, on the pitch. And that's why, in every team they've met, they're beating because of that. They have the quality, but they show, real mentality, unity all together, the togetherness, But Kylian Mbappe, I think I won't be the guy who will say that he's the one responsible for the mess at Madrid. I think if you have Mbappe in your team, you are in a good position to win something. It depends as well of other players. The ego of players, in Madrid is so huge and devastating. In the dressing room.
Is it?
Good morning, this is the Weekend World Cup Breakfast. I'm Max Scott, and with me is former Republic of Ireland striker Tony Cascarino. Some of your other headlines this morning: Algeria and Austria, in case you missed it, produced an incredible finish as both secured the point they need to reach the World Cup knockout stages. They eliminated Iran in the process. And elsewhere, Jordan Henderson's become the first male England player to appear at 4 World Cups and a record-breaking 7 major international tournaments after his cameo in yesterday's win against Panama. He spoke to talkSPORT after the game.
Yeah, time, as I said there, time goes very quickly. It seems like yesterday I was making my first cap, to be honest, but to be able to still be playing and representing my country now means a great deal to me. it means everything really. I've always give everything and been really proud to represent my country right from the first time I ever did it. So like I say, to still be here and part of this team and this group is really special for me. So yeah, I'm just pleased that we got the win, we topped the group, and we're going the next round in good spirits.
Jordan Henderson speaking to talkSPORT after becoming the first male England player to play at 7 international tournaments, 4 World Cups. Cass, a lot's been made about his inclusion in the squad, but clearly he's so important to Thomas Tuchel and the culture he wants to set in the team. It is an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah, Jordan's been there. I know Quinn had Jordan at Sunderland when he was a young lad. And when he made the big move to Liverpool, I spoke to Noel Quinn and said, no, Liverpool just, Jordan Henderson. Obviously, you didn't get as much data and detail at that time. I said to him, they paid a record fee for Jordan Henderson, Liverpool at the time. And I think it was Kenny Dalglish who bought him. And I said to him, is he good enough for Liverpool? No, I've seen him. I said, look, decent player. He went, he isn't at the moment, but he will be. And that line always stuck with me because Jordan has always proved that he could step up.
Yeah.
And he was a great player for Liverpool,
Yeah.
Over a long period of time. And, so I mean, he's had a sort of a strange end to his career because he obviously went to the Middle East and then he went to
Ajax.
Ajax and then sort of come back and ended back at Brentford. And he's played a bit part. He hasn't been in the team on a regular basis, but he's been a great. He's typical of the James Milner, that type. Manchester United have had a good few of them that are just great club servants that just drive the dressing rooms.
Yeah, and when you hear his colleagues in the England squad talk so highly about him, you can see why Thomas Tuchel picked him. And more England chat, of course, on the way. Loads of you are texting in. Remember, you can give us a call. Have your say on last night. 03717 223344. The phone lines are open, as are the text lines. We'll get to those. We've got lots on Steve Clarke, lots on England from last night. But now we all know someone who goes above and beyond for their community without ever asking for a thank you. Well, we're now chatting about an inspiring new campaign with Spar, calling on people across the UK to nominate these unsung local heroes. And joining us now to discuss how we can finally give these community champions the recognition they deserve, it's Welsh Olympic legend, former world champion athlete Colin Jackson. Good morning, Colin.
Hi,
Good
Colin.
morning. Good morning.
Great to have you with us, mate. Now, we'll talk about Olympics, we'll talk about Wales. I want to ask you about that in a moment. But talk to us about your work here, shining a spotlight on these sort of local legends.
I think what Spar's doing is fantastic. Lots of people would know, obviously, that they've been linked to European athletics for a long time. So this now, Spar UK has come up with this real amazing concept that we're going to celebrate unsung heroes, people that have helped put these athletes on the track. And it doesn't just mean athletics in that sense. You would know the sense in the world of football, in rugby, in cricket, volunteers, people who make the sandwiches, people who pat you back, help you pack, pack your bags, organize yourselves. These are just people who just do it for the love of it. They're not expecting anything back. They just have a nice bit of chat now and again. So what we're trying to do is get people to nominate these guys so that they can be rewarded in a way that's very special. So they'll come to Birmingham for us at the European Championships and they will get a medal just to say to them, congratulations, you've been recognised.
Yeah, and Colin, look, I go through my career and I could name a lot of people who helped me along the way, who saw something, a potential, and I'm sure you'd say the different types of coaches have spotted something in you, and then, you just meet and you could thank a lot of people for your journey, couldn't you?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And for me, what I absolutely love is a couple of people that came to mind when they asked me to get involved in the campaign. I was like, oh, do you know what? When I was a kid, my mum and dad used to buy from a specific butcher, right? And they used to buy the meat from the butcher. And the butcher, when I was 14, this is 14, 15, we throw in a couple of steaks and go to him, the boy needs a good feeding. Have these couple of steaks before he competes and it'll make a difference. And
they won't do that now, Colin. Expect how much the stakes are.
You know it, right? But those type of kindness that we would literally go unrecognised nowadays in that sense. So it's those little people I'd like to encourage people to sign up and say, throw them in the mix too, because they're just as relevant as anybody else.
Without a doubt, particularly as, we know how hard it is out there. We know how tough, it is with the economy, all that sort of stuff. And it's people that do things for free. I particularly think about grassroots football, in particular.
Yeah.
And they come on with the magic spray. They make the sandwiches and they don't ask for a penny, and they do it because they love their community. And that's what's great about this.
Yeah, exactly right. You're spot on there. And those are the people I say we just try to get people to nominate. Do them a favour. They do you a favour all the time. So it's about time you do them a favour. Just nominate them and see where they sit in that whole opportunity of getting rewarded.
So how are you enjoying the World Cup? I know Wales ain't there, Colin, but are you enjoying it?
I was listening this morning to the game with Austria, and I was like, Austrians going out, because I have a lot of friends who are Austrian, so they were giving me hell, right? That Wales were out and they were in. I was literally just, they're going, oh no, it's Iran. Oh well.
Talk to us about Wales, right? Because there was lots of talk. Everybody was expecting Craig Bellamy to leave. This is, after they failed to qualify to the World Cup through the playoffs, he said, I want to carry on. I want to take them to a major tournament. I want to take them to the Euros. Then it sounds like he's almost on his way out to Burnley. Then he's not. What do you make of it as a Welshman?
You know what? I think Craig should hang around. I really do in that sense. And I think he's got the skills, he's got the expertise, he's got the brain set, he's got, and ultimately he's got the players on his side as well, I feel. So if you got that kind of magic recipe book, why shouldn't he be able to take us back to a major championships again? I think he should stay, courtesy as that, because he's just good for the job.
I agree. He's passionate about it. And while we got you there, we got to ask you, I know you've got some Austrian mates and you were buzzing that they got knocked out. Care to wish England well in the knockout stages, Colin?
Always. I always remind people, right, that we always have that same passport. So we've got to celebrate success of our island.
I agree with you, and that's good to hear from a Team GB athlete as well. I've been wishing Scotland well all the time. Not everybody on talkSPORT is like, but I wanted them to do well. So it's nice to hear. It's nice to hear a Welshman wish the English well.
Absolutely.
Now, look, before we let you go, for anyone that does want to, there's someone they've been listening to this and they've been thinking of someone that's made a difference in their lives, in their kids' lives, in their local communities' lives. How can they nominate them for this award?
Easiest way, spa.co.uk/everyday-champions. And you'll find all the information there and you can nominate. And when you nominate, you also get a little bit of a voucher, which allows you to get a couple of choice of a few gifts. And if you look on the website, you see what you could pick up.
Colin Jackson, absolute legend. Thank you so much for joining us. Great work, mate.
Cheers, Colin. Bye-bye.
Take care.
I remember watching him in the Olympics, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's mad when you speak to people that you watched on telly, because the Olympics is massive. I mean, it's not as big as the World Cup in my mind, but it's huge.
Yeah, of course.
And everything stops, and you all of a sudden become fascinated by curling. But I remember watching him. He was incredible.
Well, he was from the generation, and I mean, Daley Thompson as well. I remember meeting Daley Thompson, and he was a really great guy, a bit like Colin. I've never met Colin personally, but he's one of them that you watched on TV.
Yeah.
And you sort of, leapt up, and if he got, I don't think, did he ever get he won it once, I think, the Olympic gold, didn't he?
I'm not sure. I mean, he definitely won stuff.
Yeah.
He was always in.
I don't know if he won the Olympics on the hurdling, the 110-minute hurdles. He might have done.
Colin Jackson, Olympic legend, doing bits, giving back to local communities. Great stuff. But coming up next, more England chat is on the way. 03717 22 3344. Call us up. Have your say this morning.
have you made of Stevie Clarke? He's come under the spotlight for how he's handled the journalists. He's come under the spotlight how he's set up Scotland, certainly in the second game as well. And some people have even questioned why he's had his term there extended before this World Cup. What do you make of that?
Well, Stevie Clarke, I played against him, and I know him, and he's not a Jose, you know. He's a very quiet guy, to be honest. And you have to look at what he's achieved as Scotland manager. It's brilliant, absolutely up there with the best. So, you know, people have got to realise in the press. I know the press getting on this, you know, this storm of the fans and the Tartan Army, and we party and all that. But the press have got to realise, you know, where our players play, who they play for, in the big league, in the World League. And we've done well to get there. We could have qualified, and I don't think we will. I think Steve Clarke's been frank and he's been honest. And I think he's right. There's too many permutations against us, which is going to, again, we're going to be crying losers. You know, oh, if only, if only. I had it in 82. You know, we should have beaten Russia in the final game. We drew 2-2 because we conceded 2 goals against New Zealand first game, 15th of June. So we knew it was going to be tough.
If there's one thing Brazil loves more than samba and sunshine, it's football, or as they call it, futebol. And trust me, this love story goes way back. It all started in 1884, when a young Brazilian named Charles Miller returned from England aged 21, carrying a pair of footballs and a Hampshire FA rulebook. He was basically the original influencer, bringing back trends from abroad. And just like that one mate who insists you have to try their new obsession, Miller convinced everyone to give this little English sport a go. Spoiler alert, it caught on. The entire nation fell head over boots for the game. And fast forward a few decades, it was time for Brazil to start playing in the World Cup. Then came 1958, the year a 17-year-old kid named Pelé showed up and said, "Don't worry, I got this." Brazil won its first World Cup and respectively put down its mark on the global football stage. From there, Brazil kept adding stars to the jersey. 1958, 1962, 1970, 1994, 2002, making it the only country with 5 World Cup titles and the only country to participate in every tournament. Not that they like to brag or anything. Okay, maybe a little. And the style? Pure magic. Jogo bonito, the beautiful game. It became Brazil's signature. Think dazzling footwork, joyful play, and the occasional move that makes you wonder if gravity just took the day off. Today, football isn't just a sport in Brazil. It's part of the national identity. From street games played with anything even slightly round to packed stadiums exploding with colour and noise, Brazil lives and breathes football. So, the next time you see that iconic yellow jersey, just remember, it all started with one guy, 2 footballs, and a nation ready to fall in love.
Yeah, good morning. You're listening to World Cup Weekend Breakfast Show live on talkSPORT on your talkSPORT on your smart TV and on your radio, of course. I'm Max Scott. With me is former Millwall and Chelsea striker Tony Cascarino, and we're reacting to a night where England topped their group yesterday with that 2-0 win over Panama. This is what it sounded like at full time on talkSPORT.
And the full-time whistle blows. And England have won the group, which is what they set out to do.
We're looking ahead to the knockout rounds with an absolute England legend in a moment. Elsewhere, Steve Clarke resigned as head coach following Scotland's exit from the World Cup. Mark McGee spoke to the boys on Sports Bar about that this morning.
He would sense that he's lost the trust of the Tartan army. I think there was a bit of a backlash, and I think the backlash wasn't temporary.
Was it the right decision from Clarke to leave just weeks after signing that extension? Scotland fans get in touch, and Lionel Messi made history again, becoming the first man to score in 7 consecutive World Cup finals. Here's how it sounded on talkSPORT.
Left-footed shot, and there it is! History once again for Lionel Messi!
We'll be bringing you reaction from that and so much more. Send us a text, tell us how you're feeling on 81089 or on WhatsApp 03717223344 if you want to have your say on today's action. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast Show on talkSPORT. Yeah, we're going to continue looking back on England's performance against the Panamanians last night. It was England's 2 true superstars, their 2 true world-class players who came up huge for the Three Lions.
Time now to get England's 2026 World Cup campaign underway.
How much does Bellingham want it? He showed last night he does. How much does Harry Kane want it? They believe that they can go and win the World Cup.
Valuable is he going to be to England in this World Cup campaign?
It's across the box and goal! Oh, what a start of the second half! Jude Bellingham!
He carries a lot of weight on his shoulders for such a young boy. I think people probably forget how young he is.
And England, who have this happy habit of starting tournaments so well and then failing in the second game.
Second game fever, you know, same as always with us, it feels like. I think
it doesn't change too much for us in the group stage, so we just look forward to the next one to try and get to 7 points.
61 gone, it is still 0-0. Corner comes in, oh, it is in! Bellingham comes up trumps.
You could just sniff that goal coming, you really could.
For me, there's a responsibility to try and get the team going to another level.
Bellingham twisting left-hand side of the box, clipping it in for Kane! 2-0!
It is very vital that everyone is on point. The longer we want to go, everyone needs to be on point, and I think we will get there.
Yeah, look, if England want to win these kind of tournaments, they need their star players to turn up. That's exactly what happened. And Jude Bellingham spoke to talkSPORT's Faker Others after the game about his relationship with England's captain, Harry Kane.
I think I've built a good relationship with Harry over the last 4 or 5 years, especially after Qatar, you know, playing so close together. And yeah, it's an honour to play with him. For me, he's the best England player of all time. He's the one who showed up more than anyone, more than any England player. And so it's quite easy to play with him, in all honesty. He's at a level at the minute that's just incredible. You don't doubt him at all in terms of whether he's involved, whether he's not. You know he's going to make a difference in the game, and he did again today.
Jude Bellingham speaking to talkSPORT about that important relationship he's building up with Harry Kane. It came up huge for England last night, and I'm delighted to say, to get more reaction to England, we're joined by the legend that is Harry Redknapp. Harry, good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Hiya, Harry.
Good morning, lads. How are you?
Yeah, good, Harry.
Well.
Harry, I wanted to ask you first because Jude there is talking about relationship. He played a slightly deeper role yesterday, but he still managed to do the things as a driving midfielder, which, you know, people like Frank Lampard were great at doing, of joining the forward. Yeah, Harry, can you hear me?
Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, I was just saying that how, you know, that type of... Because I felt Jude played a little bit deeper yesterday, but he could still do the driving forward and getting in that box, which is way more common years gone by, of getting that midfielder into danger areas. And yet, you know, I thought it worked really well with Harry Kane yesterday on that, keeping Harry higher as well.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a good relationship, good understanding, the two of them. And Bellingham, he's a top player. I mean, he really is a fantastic talent. We're very lucky, obviously, to have him and Harry. What a partnership they are. So, I mean, I think we're very reliant on them two. And certainly, as you say, he can drop deep. He can do. He's an all-round player. He can absolutely do everything, can't he? So, and obviously popping up the game with vital goals like he has done in World Cups for us so far is so important.
It was the first time. There was a lot of conversation before the World Cup. You'll be aware, Harry, of like whether England start Bellingham or Morgan Rogers. I never thought it was a debate, but last night, for the first time, we saw Morgan Rogers and Jude Bellingham sort of playing together. What did you make of that? How do you think Rogers got on?
Yeah, I think there's no reason they can't play together. I think people often talk about partnerships. Oh, they can't play together. I don't know why. I mean, we had it over the years, didn't we? Lampard and Gerrard, they can't play together. I mean, why couldn't they have played together? They both had absolutely every attribute that you could want as a footballer. It was, a case of balancing up with someone, maybe sitting someone in between the pair of them. And it's the same with them. Why can't they play together? They're both, look at them, what specimens they are, great physique, strength, power, ability. They've got everything. So I wouldn't see it as any problem if you wanted to have a change and playing together at some stage. It would be possible.
Yeah, and I'd add into that. I mean, you mentioned Harry. I mean, I find it astounding how Harry's improved so much in all the years, and he's been a great player for a long time. Harry.
Oh, amazing!
But he's going to Bayern and then seeing him the type of player he is now. He seems every dimension of his game is just so much more improved.
Everything about him, he's just a complete all-round footballer. How his game, as you say, has gone on, back to the early days. What an example he's been to any young footballer. I loaned, I played in a golf day recently with Barry Hearn, and I loaned him out to Orient, with Andros Townsend and Stephen Corker. The three of them went to Leighton Orient way back very early in his career. And Barry spoke recently at a function I went to, and he said, if you'd have asked me, I'd have said, yeah, Stephen Corker could make it. Andros Townsend could go back to Tottenham and play, but Harry Kane, no, he'll never be good enough to play for Tottenham. I mean, how he has progressed and worked and trained every day on the training ground. He'd be out there practicing, wanting to be a player. He's just he's never a problem with him. He's such a great person, player. He's just got everything. He's been amazing how hard he's worked and how what he's achieved.
On the performance generally, Harry, look, it wasn't exactly exhilarating, but they got the job done. Bellingham, Kane coming up trumps. But again, I find it impossible to ignore the glaringly obvious mistake in Thomas Tuchel's squad selection. We're bereft for fullbacks, and you've got the likes of Lewis Hall, you've got the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold at home. Meanwhile, Kwanzaa, who's a centre-back, has come in. He's injured. We've got Trevor Chalobah, who's been brought in. He's a centre-back. He might play at right-back. How do you think Tuchel's going to manage this sort of defensive problems he's got in that position?
Well, it's very strange, as you say, when you looked at the balance of the squad. And, and I think it's coming home to roost a little bit now, what everybody felt when he picked went there really short of fullbacks, without a real balance at fullback. So, I don't know what it's going to be a difficult one, but listen, I'm sitting here with a Welshman who really I'm going to put him. He knows a bit about the game. He's my golf partner. We're just going to play golf here, Tony, and he beats me every time. But Tony Pulis.
Oh right.
Listen. The only thing I've watched the England games. The only thing that worries me at times is they look very, very open to counter attack.
The only thing is, might win it.
I've got my fingers crossed. They might play against a decent team soon.
Oh well, Tony, that's the issue, isn't it? And same for Harry. This is the group phase. You're out and they've won it, which everybody expects. But when you get to knockout stage, you don't get a second chance.
No, they've lost them. They've got a fantastic squad of players. I think I'll be very, very surprised if they don't go really deep into the competition.
Tony, I've got to ask you while you're there, mate. Your Stoke team were known for being so defensively organised and upsetting teams all the time. It looks like England are really struggling against that low block. Do you think that's going to be a problem later on in the tournament, or do you think that's less likely as teams naturally get better?
I really do believe the wide players are so important to England. They've got 4 really top-class wide players. And if you're going to play deep and the one thing that would frighten you all the time is leg beaters, people who can take individuals out of the game. And then that opens the space up. If they didn't have people wide who could take people on and beat people or open the door, then yeah, I'd be worried. But I don't think they need to worry too much about that.
Cool, we're getting a double fee here, aren't we?
Mystery guest. Who's in Harry's passenger seat? It's only Tony Pulis.
Listen, we go off and play golf early in the mornings all the time, and
he does beat me on a regular basis.
I don't know. He takes 3 golf balls off me every time. We play for 3 golf balls, and I think he's about 1,000 golf balls up.
I give them all to my grandchildren.
No. Oh, look, it's great having you both on, and hopefully, Tony, the Welsh can get there next time when they have maybe 64 teams at the World Cup.
Yeah, thanks for that vote of confidence.
Hey, look, Harry Redknapp, Tony Pulis, go enjoy your 18 holes. We've loved that mystery guest. Buy one, get one free on a weekend breakfast show. Have a good one, fellas.
Cheers,
Have
boys.
a good day, lads. Well done. Bye.
Brilliant stuff. 2 Premier League legends. We knew we were getting Harry Redknapp. We knew that he couldn't jump on the Zoom because he was on his way to play golf. We didn't know that Tony Pulis was listening for 5-10 minutes before he jumped on. Absolute top.
Do you know what makes me laugh? And this is so Harry when he said, "I'm with a fella there, this Welsh fella, and he knows a little bit about football."
I was thinking, is it just a random Welsh mate that lives down Sandbanks? No, it's only Tony Pulis. Brilliant stuff. Well, that's all the reaction from England. We got more to come a little bit later on with some great guests joining the show. Stick with us, though. We're going to get the latest odds from Coral in a moment on a weekend World Cup breakfast show.
Bentley has been terrified all week about the Ghanaian witch doctor he slagged off.
No, he did not.
Supposedly putting a curse on Harry Kane and England's number 9, subsequently missing a sitter. Now, thankfully, the witch doctor, of course, lifted the curse.
It's funny.
Right. Now, there was a report in The Sun that you, Emmanuel, were cursed by a witch doctor.
It's Senegal.
Ignored it.
2002.
And got injured.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, before the World Cup in 2002, no, after the World Cup, actually, because we went out very quickly, during the World Cup in Asia. And when I came back, I was in holidays in south of France, and I had a friend, he was selling watches, on the beach, and he was expecting me. He was waiting for me for days. And then when he saw me, he came to me straight away, and he said, "I'm so happy to see you because I have something important to tell you." And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "You have to be very careful because you have how can I say that? A curse, on you, and you have to follow exactly what I'm going to tell you." And I said, "What is it?" He said, "You have to go in Africa and you have to buy a cow and you have to kill it, and you have to follow."
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Hey, good morning. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast Show with me, Max Scott, alongside shampoo and set specialist Tony Cascarino. And this, of course, is the Rocky theme tune because we're into the knockout stages, Cass.
Yes, knockout stages. It's when it really starts. Yeah, so, yeah.
So we want you to get in touch. 81089 03717 223344 on WhatsApp. Give us some of your knockout stories. Stories where you've either got further in life than you ever expected, or you've been knocked out unceremoniously from something. No bar scraps, but something that you can remember in your life.
I'll tell you, Max. I was in Vegas and I played in a poker tournament against, well, not against him, but I was on his table with Lennox Lewis. And I knocked him out of the competition. So I always say I knocked out Lennox Lewis.
Did you win the tournament?
No, I didn't win it, but he was in the same tournament as me. And also, I got knocked out in me in Heads Up by Carl Froch. He knocked me out.
In a game of poker?
It was a tournament, and it was for celebrities, which, was about 50, 60 celebs. And me and Carl Froch ended up head-to-head. And I used that line, and I did say to him jokingly, I said, all I want to say is, I'll knock Carl Froch out. And he went, you're not doing it. And he ended up beating me, knocking me out. So
Tony Cascarino's knocked out Lennox Lewis, in brackets, in a poker tournament.
But there's people who've got stories about whether it's tennis or something, any other sport, but have been knocked out of something, even the competition of something.
Yeah.
You must have been in.
Yeah, no, well, speaking of tennis, when I was about 13, I had tennis lessons, went to a tennis tournament. I was 5-0 up, and it was like one set and you threw. 5-0 up, I lost on a tie-break. Didn't stop crying, never played tennis since. I've never played tennis since.
So you didn't even get over it?
No, couldn't get over it. Just stuck to football. That's all I was good at.
Well, so what? Just on that. So the 5-0. What happened for you to be?
I just absolutely bottled it.
You just collapsed.
Yeah, absolutely bottled it. I was so nervous. I had friends watching, parents watching.
Well,
and I just got complacent.
How did you get 5-0 up then if you were so nervous?
Just natural sporting talent, but then, the thing between the ears let me down.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It often does, Cass, I'm not going to lie. Get in touch, 81089, with your knockout stories. But now we're going to check in on the odds with our good friends at Coral.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here for the fans this season. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
It's a good morning, a very good morning to John Hill. How you doing, sir?
Hi, John.
Good morning, Max. Good morning, Cass. Yeah, really good, thank you, Max. Late one last night. I was watching a bit of Portugal, Colombia. Obviously the last group games.
They were fortunate, John, weren't they, Portugal?
They were.
The goalkeeper, Costa for Portugal, pulled off a right few saves.
Outstanding saves in the game, and obviously late on that goal that didn't stand. I don't think they've been great, Portugal. I have to say, of all the big guns, a lot of people were tipping them up at the start of the tournament, Portugal, to go all the way, but they're up to 11-1 now, Cristiano Ronaldo's side. And obviously England, a couple of hours earlier, got the job done in the end, I guess, didn't they? Weren't convincing in that first half, but at the end of the day, they've won the group. They know their path. It's going to be a much easier one. Had they finished second, I think it would have been tougher for Tuchel's men. So we know where we stand now. We're 7-1 to win this tournament. England, third best in the betting, behind France. For me, the best team in the tournament so far. France, Le Bleu. I think they've been outstanding. You think of the depth they've got, Max, in their attacking ranks, to say the least. They could easily go all the way. And Argentina in that bottom half, Lionel Messi, could he go all the way again? They're 4-1 second favourites, Argentina. So England, third best, as I say. I guess this is where the tournament really starts tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And now talk to us about our next opponents, Democratic Republic of Congo. We've seen them cause problems to big teams in Portugal. They're probably, I wouldn't be surprised if you look at that Ghana game, John, and say, well, we're just going to set up in a similar way. We can, break on the counter. It's going to be a tough ask. But what are the odds saying?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Max. In a way, they've given Congo the blueprint, haven't they, Ghana? And Panama for some space of time in that game for 60 minutes. I thought they defended well, defending behind the lines. But we are warm favourites despite that, Max. We're 2-7 to prevail in 90 minutes. So the betting suggests England should be able to get the job done. Congo 11-1 to cause an upset. The draw 9-2, obviously. This is where penalties and extra time could come into play as well. We've got all sorts of markets available. England to win on penalties, 18-1. England to win in extra time, 10-1. So let's hope we don't need that at this stage of the tournament. We might need it later in the competition. But England, warm favourites to get past Congo. But like you say, don't think it's going to be an easy night somehow.
No. John, in Los Angeles tonight, Canada take on South Africa. Canadians are not too happy about it, but I actually think the Canadians, it's a pretty decent game for them to have.
Yeah, completely agree with you. I think I weren't impressed with South Africa. I know they got the job done that final game to qualify, but they weren't great in their opening 2 matches. So I think this is a good opportunity for one of the co-hosts. Okay, they're not playing at home tonight, but they are 1 favourites, 1-2 Canada to win this one. South Africa 9-2 for the upset, 11-4 the draw. And as we say, really, it all starts tonight, really. We know the 32 teams from here. We've got some cracking games to come, haven't we? Brazil, Japan tomorrow. That should be an absolute belter.
And it's at 6 o'clock, John, so we don't need to stay up. We can just enjoy it normal time.
Absolutely. That helps a lot, I have to say. So really looking forward to that. Looking forward to Netherlands, Morocco, Ivory Coast, Norway. They're all cracking ties, aren't they? So there are some good games in this round of 32. And, you know, some of the big teams have to be at their best. Otherwise, they could be getting a flight home.
Yeah, without a doubt. All those round of 32 games, of course, live here on the talkSPORT network. John, just away from the football for a moment, I'm really intrigued about what's happening with England cricket at the minute. I've got to say, after staying up all night like you've been for the World Cup, like lots of us have been for the World Cup, staying up all night watching the Ashes, watching that total capitulation, the dreadful sort of wet warm-up that they did, and, you know, the antics that we're seeing and the drinking and all that sort of stuff, and it's just continued in a way, just the off-the-field stuff. So I feel quite disenfranchised, but with Ben Stokes back, I'm delighted he's back. It's really tough ask against New Zealand. They're leading by 204 runs, 7 wickets remaining. England have then got to bat a second time. It's going to have to take, surely, another Ben Stokes miracle to get England a really important series win for England's top brass.
Yeah, they've got it all to do, haven't they? And it's going to be difficult. I think this wicket is going to be harder to bat on as well as we get into that final day tomorrow. So that's not obviously in England's chances. So as we speak, New Zealand have got a lead of 204, 7 wickets remaining. I think if they get anything close to 300 lead, Max, this is going to be tough. So New Zealand 8-13 victory here would wrap up the series for the Kiwis. England 9-4 to win this Test match. As you say, it's gone from bad to worse. I didn't think it could get any worse than the Ashes. You know, that bad preparation and the way they capitulated in that series. You'd have expected them to bounce back this summer at home, wouldn't you, in a 3-match series against New Zealand, with the greatest respect to New Zealand, a good Test side. But this was an opportunity for England to get back to winning ways. It looks like it may not be the case. And you've got to ask yourself, Max, will there be changes after this series? Will there be changes to Rob Key, the director of cricket? Baz McCullum, will he be under pressure? I think Ben Stokes has shown enough in this Test match to suggest, you know, his long-term future should be okay. You know, obviously off-field antics didn't go well, did it, after that victory at Lord's? But served his punishment, missed that second Test, and I thought he was good with the ball yesterday. So they need more heroics from Ben Stokes, so they're really up against it. As I say, New Zealand odds on at 8-13 to complete the series victory.
John, just briefly, me and Max have been talking about getting knocked out. You know, we're at the knockout stages in the World Cup now, getting knocked out of anything. And I mentioned poker tournament, Max mentioned tennis. Anything you've had to experience along the way?
Yeah, a chess tournament, actually, when I was in school. I think I was on around a 4 or 5 year unbeaten run. In my final year at school, I got beat in the last I think it was like the last term or something. So my unbeaten run went out on the window in the very last term of school. And I still not got over it 30 years later.
John, imagine if you'd have not lost that game, we'd have been able to introduce you as Coral's very own unbeaten secondary school chess champion.
Oh,
we can't say it.
That still hurts me, mate. It really does.
These things live with us, don't you? John, thank you so much, mate. Absolute pleasure.
Cheers,
John. Cheers, guys. Have a good day.
Yeah, bye-bye. You too, mate. That was a look at the latest odds with Coral. 18+. BeGambleAware.org. Please gamble responsibly.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here for the fans this season. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Speaking of knockouts, Richard in Sheffield's messaged in saying, great show, gents. I once knocked myself out by eating a piece of chicken. When I was a boy, we would always have Sunday lunch after I'd played football. Mum was putting lunch out and told us not to touch it, but I swiped a piece of chicken, stuffed it in my mouth and swallowed it, but it was hot. I banged on my chest as it was burnt me going down, and I lost consciousness. I woke up asking where my chicken was. He's knocked himself out, Cass. Crikey Moses. Keep texts coming in in the spirit of the knockout stages, which, of course, we are in. As you've just heard, Canada take on South Africa, presented by Ollie Klink this evening from 7 p.m. Kick-off at 8. easy route for some of the co-hosts. I mean, Mexico got the hardest, but USA got Bosnia, Canada got South Africa. Tough games, but winnable games. Coming up next, we're going to chat what a World Cup it's been for the African side. 9 teams through to the knockouts. African football absolutely flying. This is the Weekend World Cup Breakfast Show on talkSPORT.
Manchester City have agreed a £116 million deal to sign Elliot Anderson from Nottingham Forest. The fee, as you might have guessed, is the most ever paid for a British player and represents a new record for Manchester City. He's 23, Anderson, and has now been given permission to undertake a medical right here in New York today, with the deal subject to the finalising of personal terms. You would think that'll get done quick style. Alex, Elliot Anderson, this is a remarkable rise, isn't it?
Certainly is, when you think that he went from Newcastle to Forest for a relatively modest sum. I know Eddie Howe at the time didn't particularly want to cash in, but obviously they had issues with PSR.
Yep.
It's interesting, the figures. City side are saying 116 million. Forest side are saying actually it's nearer to 130 million. Either way, it's a record, as you say, for a British player, potentially a Premier League record fee, eclipsing what Liverpool paid for Alexander Isak this time last year. I was speaking to a couple of ex-players at the darts last night, and we were pondering, if Elliot Anderson is really a £130 million player, how much would someone like Paul Scholes be worth in the current market? I think he's a terrific player, Elliot Anderson. I'm not sure he's a £130 million player.
Well, sure. He joined Forest, as Alex says, from Newcastle in a £35 million deal in 2023. So, not so long after that, we've now arrived at 116 million.
Well, brilliant business for Forest. If I'm going to my chairman...
Yeah, good morning. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast with me, Max Scott, alongside former Millwall and Marseille striker Tony Cascarino. Here are some of your other headlines that you're waking up to this morning. Steve Clarke has resigned as head coach following Scotland's exit from the World Cup. Meanwhile, England are on the brink of defeat against New Zealand on day 4 of the series-deciding test after opening up a commanding 204-run second innings lead. Can't help but wonder whether there's going to be changes afoot should England lose this test. And Saudi Arabia boxing chief Turki Al-Sheikh has called for rival promoters Eddie Hearn and Dana White to come together, settle their differences in what he describes as peace talks. However, Eddie Howe told talkSPORT earlier this week that it won't be so straightforward.
Yeah, who he's backed by? Right. You're as good as you are, and he ain't anywhere near my league. And all this talk about peace talks, I've got to be honest with you, I don't want peace talks. I want war talks. Because I had 15 years with Warren. It was like the greatest time of my career. And now we're all playing nice. And I'm glad we do, because I like going out to dinner with Frank. He's a great company, and George is a great guy.
Everybody's friends.
Yeah, but it's boring, Jim. It's like, you know, you guys, I know what you guys want. You guys want beef. You want the violence in and out of the ring. So for me, when we have those meetings next week that Turki Al-Sheikh wants, it's got to be, you know, it's not just a case of, oh yeah, all right, let's do a photo with our hands in the middle. Yeah. Like, I want to see who's the best.
Eddie Hearn speaking to White and Jordan about his ongoing feud with Dana White. Doesn't look like those peace talks hosted by Turki Al-Sheikh are going to go very well.
No, and boxing's always had that.
Yeah.
You know, that rivalry from the sort of the Mickey Duffs era, and, you know, and many others that have just dominated, and they're fighting for big business, aren't they? Imagine having a world heavyweight champion under your books, and then you get other promoters trying to take them, and, you know, you get all this going on. That is truly the entertainment game of boxing.
Oftentimes, Cass, I think actually people like Eddie Hearn, Dana White, Frank Warren, they're more entertaining than some of the fights they put on. They're so good at what they do.
Well, obviously Barry, Eddie's, you know, his dad is Barry. He's been around forever in snooker and done what he did, and Eddie sort of took on that passion and desire to make boxing as big as he can. And Frank Warren's been around forever, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But he's still at the top of the table.
Oh, he's at the top of the game, sharp as anything.
You know. So yeah, it's always been there.
Remember, there's loads more reaction on talkSPORT's award-winning boxing YouTube channel. There's also reaction to the big news yesterday that Alexander Usyk's dropping all his 3 world title belts to open up new opportunities. Says he will fight once more. We don't know who. First place you'll hear about it, of course, is here on talkSPORT and the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. But as we said before the break, we're going to delve a little bit into African football and how successful they've been at the World Cup. 9 of the 10 teams through to the knockout stages. DR Congo, of course, who got England in the final 32, beat Uzbekistan 3-1. Algeria secured their place after that scintillating 3-3 draw with Austria this morning, meaning only Tunisia missing out on the knockout stages. Debutants Cape Verde also produced one of the biggest shocks in the competition's history, drawing with Spain in their opening game, going on to finish second in their group. The reward, world champions Argentina in the round of 32. So could we be looking at the first African winners of the World Cup? I think it's premature to say that, Cass, but, you know, one day, surely that's on the cards.
Yeah, why wouldn't it be? I mean, if you said to me the best team, I think, you know, out of all the African nations, and it's still pretty debatable because some people say Senegal. I think Morocco have looked a really great side, and they're a very dangerous side. Ivory Coast always have good teams. Ghana, you know, they've had some great sides along the years. I do feel that one of them, and I think more particularly Morocco, will be a very difficult team to take apart.
Well, I was just going to say, and you know, I was surprised they didn't win the group. I tipped them to win that group and be on England's side of the bracket. But the style of football they play, you know, we've been praising Japan, how organised and fluid and symmetrical they are and everything that they do. Morocco have got a bit about them as well. You know, going forward, so entertaining to watch.
Yeah, and teams will be scared by them, and they play a very high press as well and go after you. You know, you watch Hakimi do the same as he does for PSG. He literally charges into areas where you think, no, Morocco never used to play. I mean, in that manner. But out of all of them, I'm looking. I mean, I was surprised that South Africa got through.
Particularly after that first game,
they
2
were
men
really
sent
poor,
off. They
really
were nowhere,
poor,
and they've clawed it back.
But they've turned it around. So yeah, it's great for African football, and it's great for football in general. If someone from another continent comes in and goes, "Look how we've progressed."
Yeah, and another interesting African team that I was expecting more from in that France-Norway and Senegal group.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know whether to call them AFCON winners or not, because they won it on the pitch and then it was taken away from them. In all their press releases, Cass, and all their stuff they put out on social media, they put AFCON champion Senegal, even though it was taken away from them. I like that. But they got off to a really difficult start. It was only that big, I think, 5-1 win over Iraq that sort of got them through in third place, in a third place sort of finishing group. You'd expect them, hopefully, to come good. They're not on England's side of the bracket. And actually, you know, they'll face the winner. Oh, well, they've got Belgium, so anything can happen in that game. I can't call it. Then the winner of that faces USA or Bosnia. So that if they can get going, Cass, they could be a real threat because we know how good they can be.
I'm never convinced by Belgium. For whatever, you know, they've got some good players like Trossard, Kevin De Bruyne, Lukaku's still in there, although he's sometimes a bit more of a sub now than. But they've always had good players, Flemish. I just don't see them being a team that will go really deep. I think that Senegal will give them certainly issues, without a doubt. You know, they've got some good players, Senegal. I mean, Sadio Mane's still there, still playing, you know, still going. So it's nice seeing him playing.
I mean, you speak about Sadio Mane, it reminds me, you know, this is a World Cup.
Ismail Sarr, the boy, you know, he's another African player, terrific footballer.
Yeah, on Sadio Mane, it reminds me of just in this World Cup, there are so many legends where this is going to be their final tournament, whether it's Ronaldo, whether it's Messi, in African football, whether it's Sadio Mane, and particularly after the whole drama and controversy of AFCON. It'd be great if Sadio Mane can sort of take Senegal further into the tournament, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, but they've got to earn the right, Max. You know, it's like everything in life. You get what you deserve if you put enough in and play well enough. Yeah, great.
No, fair play to the African teams. 9 out of 10 of them through. Just shows how much improvement and what that investment in African game does.
The Netherlands, Morocco.
Yeah.
That's a really good game. That's a tight call, that one.
I mean, that and Brazil and Japan, they're probably the picks for the best games to watch in the round of 32. Yeah, absolutely. It'd be interesting to see what happens. We've seen a bit of both from the Netherlands as well. So that's African football. I want to talk a little bit, though, about the Golden Boot race, Cass, because it's been great to see a tournament where the big names all turning up. Messi leading the way with 6 goals. So he's leading the race. You've got Kylian Mbappe on 4, Ousmane Dembele on 4 after that 32-minute first half hat-trick, unbelievable. Vinicius Jr., you know, we talk about Brazil, Cass, and how they've struggled. You know, we thought they're not the team that they are, but Vinny Jr.'s bagging the goals. They've topped the group, happy days. Erling Haaland on 4 in just 2 games. He didn't play. Final group game.
Yeah, but I think I think Norway are playing the long game. And unfortunately for Haaland, who would have probably loved to have played to get the opportunity to score, I think they're playing the long game. Is in they left a lot of players out.
The wise thing to do. I like that, Cass.
But the Golden Boot chaser, and you know what forwards are like. He would have loved to have got, you know, maybe 1 or 2 goals.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The ego of goal scorers.
He'll have been gutted that he wasn't starting.
Yeah,
but he is a team player. And look, you know what I like about Haaland? After their who did they beat in the? They won the second game in the group, so that was it. The Senegal game, 3-2. And Haaland's interviewed. He's just bagged the brace, I believe, and he said, you know, he's asked about France by Katie Shanahan, actually, talkSPORT's very own, and she says, you know, how are you feeling about big game against France? You joint on points, you could win the group, and he basically just says, not verbatim, he says, yeah, well, we're not going to win that game, so it's fine. And I love his honesty. Do you know what I mean? He's like, we're not going to win it. He didn't even play in the end.
He can get away with that.
I know.
He can.
Yeah, but that's what I like about
the Golden Boot. Is it? I didn't imagine. And I don't think many people did as great as he is. I didn't imagine Lionel Messi would get 6 goals in the group phases. I just, 39 years old, and he's gone to the World Cup, and he's just literally, by the way, he was voted best player in Qatar, last World Cup. He's playing better today than he did then.
I agree. I mean, he got that because, look, he's Messi, scored in the World Cup final, whatever.
And I win a reasonable group to get goals.
Yeah. But you're right. Like the level of performance hasn't dropped off 4 years later. It hasn't dropped off even though he's playing in the MLS. That's what makes him so special. Do you think there's anybody in that list, whether it's Harry Kane on 3, Haaland, Vinny Jr., Dembele, Mbappe on 4?
Mbappe, I would imagine.
You think he'll catch it?
I think he'll be the closest to him. I mean, they play Sweden up next in their game. I just think Kylian Mbappe in a moment can go 2 or 3 goals. He is just frightening. I think if anyone was going to catch Lionel Messi, I think it would be Mbappe.
Cristiano Ronaldo's on 2. He scored 2 against Uzbekistan, got his face in the camera, said he's back. They take on Croatia, who, they're no mugs. I know they're maybe slightly aging midfield, but they're ranked 11th in the world. I know you can't necessarily always look into world rankings, but, you know, can you see him getting any more goals? Can you see even Portugal getting through that game? Because they've struggled.
Well, there's something that feels wrong about Portugal in their opening games. They've not played well. No. You know, they're nowhere near. And Uzbekistan was, I would probably say, if not the poorest, they were certainly one of the poorest teams in the tournament. So Croatia have always been a team that overachieve. They just do. I mean, I think the population is only about 5 million, isn't it, in Croatia? And it's like they produce some unbelievable teams for such a small, you know, population, 5 million, and they get great teams.
Yeah. I'm backing Croatia for that game because I think it's as simple as Cristiano Ronaldo is the problem at Portugal. Cristiano Ronaldo is stopping that midfield.
He didn't play well last night again. No. And look, to be honest, I said to you on the way in, Max, when we come in, watching Portugal, and I thought they were very fortunate last night. Very fortunate. It weren't for Costa, the goalkeeper, they'd have lost.
Yeah. Well, one thing we do know, one thing I will sort of bank on, is that Cristiano Ronaldo ain't winning that golden boot race, because I just don't think that Portugal are going to get that far the way that they're playing. And then with Cristiano Ronaldo being the sort of blockage, I think, at the top of the pitch in front of one of the best midfields on paper in the tournament.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is the weekend World Cup breakfast on talkSPORT. Coming up next, we look at some of the movers and shakers in the transfer window.
When you look at Scotland over the 3 games, David, what is your overall assessment and takeaway? I mean, most of us looked at it and felt that Morocco and Brazil would be a reach to get anything from, and that the outcome of the Haitian game would be important and that goals needed to be scored. Criticism is being made of Steve Clarke. I'm not asking you to jump on the bandwagon, but the manner in which Scotland have played, the lack of bravery, the fact that they've been very negative in lots of people's minds, and Steve is a defensive coach. When you hear all those things, what's your assessment of these 3 games and the opportunities that Scotland have either taken or missed?
Yeah. Well, we spoke the other day. I think the biggest word that you're missing here, Simon, is quality. I don't think Scotland have the quality at the moment available to them to compete. I'm not saying that on the odd day that you wouldn't beat one of these teams and get good results, which we did against Denmark, for example, when we get through those games. But I just feel that generally Scotland have been short at that level. We talked about it a few days ago when we were talking about the Haiti game and only winning 1-0. We all felt it was a really good result. Not a really good result, but a good result because we had got 3 points. But you were right in what you were saying. We probably needed to score 3 or 4 goals. But I don't think MD, who's played Haiti yet, or certainly Morocco, have found it that easy. And I don't think they've been as easy a game as what maybe everybody hoped it might have been. So yeah, it might have cost us not scoring 2 or 3 goals in that.
You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast Show. Me, Max Scott, alongside former Millwall and Marseille striker Tony Cascarino. And as we head into the knockout rounds of the World Cup, where it really gets going, we've been asking you for your knockout stories. Jake, the Rangers fan. While serving in the army in Dorset, a group of us entered into the World Musical Chairs competition in Wareham in Dorset. World Championships. An annual summer event. I got knocked out in the final by a very large lady who bumped me off my seat to claim top spot for England. Almost world champion in musical chairs. Love that from Jake, the Rangers fan. We've got more texts coming in, your knockout stories. Matt says, morning Max and Tony, from a very warm Dubai. knocked myself out on the way home from an Oasis concert, battling to get the train toilet door open, which eventually came free, knocked me unconscious as it collided with my head. Coming to well past my actual stop, other passengers thought I was just intoxicated as they stepped over me. Just left him in the dirt. Knocked out by a toilet door. Keep those texts coming in. 81089 or on WhatsApp 03717 223344. You can call us. You can get in touch regarding England and Scotland. Delighted to say Liam, the Sheffield United fan, wants to talk about England. Liam, what did you make of last night, mate? Good morning.
Morning, Max. You all right, mate?
Hi, Liam. Doing well, thanks, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Hi, Tony. You all right, mate?
Yeah.
I know you champion Chris Wilder a lot in past, so I want to thank you for that as well. I know you're a big fan of Chris Wilder.
Yeah, I know. I've got to know Chris over the years, a long time. And, a frustrating year for you boys, wasn't it? But you ended up... I think there'll be a lot of change this summer, don't you?
Yeah, 100% a lot of change. There needs to be anyway, especially with new ownership. It don't look like it's going down great. But, yeah, reason for the call, I just wanted to hit on back of last night. I thought it would be poor again, to be honest with you. I thought in transition... When we have the ball, I think we're poor. I think we look more vulnerable when we're attacking defensively than what we do when we're just in general play. I just think we're poor. And I mean, I want to praise Jude. I think Jude was absolutely outstanding last night. He carried us on his shoulders again. And I just want to throw my opinions that way. I just don't think we're good enough out of possession.
Yeah, Liam, mate, you're right there. I think, Jude Bellingham is that spark. Harry Kane's still getting the goals, but Jude Bellingham's the one dragging the team up, he's the sort of standard flag bearer in the team.
No, I mean, he's had a lot of criticism. I mean, for some reason, I don't know why, but he's had a lot of criticism. I think, and you can just watch his face. It means so much to him, and I think that is what I want to see. I mean, I know obviously you'll go on about Elliot Anderson being your player, but I think he was poor last night. I think he missed a lot of tackles in front of back four. I think he ball away quite a lot in front of back four. And again, like I said earlier, I think we're more dangerous when we have the ball. I think the opposition are more dangerous to us when we have the ball than what we do when we have the ball, because we just look like we can just get walked through in midfield. I don't know what the answer to that is here. Just throw Rice back in there, then you've got the argument. Then you've got two similar midfielders in there. Do you want Kobe Mainoo to come in there just to slow it down, calm it down, pass it around, keep it ticking over, but also move the ball forward? There's a lot of questions he's got to answer it next few days over this midfield, because I know it's Congo into it.
Yeah, they are Congo. Yeah.
I mean, obviously you put it on paper, we should beat them on paper, but this World Cup showed it's not like that, and we're going to have to be on top of his game to beat them. And again, I can see us getting knocked. I can see another Iceland.
Oh, don't say that, mate. But no, mate, you're right, Liam. I mean, there's lots you've said there. I agree about Elliot Anderson. I was just raving yesterday morning with Cass about how often he wins the ball back. Yesterday, he really struggled with that. Is this move, this potential medical with Man City, sort of, is it getting to his head? Is he distracted? But one thing I wanted to bring you up on is, what about Kobbie Mainoo? Because, yes, Jordan Henderson, great servant of the country, clearly a great leader. But why not bring on Kobbie Mainoo for 10 minutes? Because if you need to win a game, it's not going to be Jordan Henderson that comes on and does it. Kobbie Mainoo's that player.
I totally agree. I mean, I feel like with Kobbie Mainoo, I don't know if his face doesn't fit. I don't know. A bit like the Trent situation, he's kind of took him. He's not really getting much minutes. And I feel like he's the kind of player that can slow the game down so we can control the ball. Everything just looks erratic in midfield. It's like ping pong. It's just like a hot potato. Everything's just bouncing around. There's no control. We need someone who can just get hold of the ball like a Modric. Obviously, I know he's nowhere near as good as Modric, but we just need that kind of player that can slow everything down and then pick the tempo when we want to pick the tempo up, not when the opposition decide that they want to counter attack.
Yeah,
I feel like it could be a good option for us, especially as we go. Well, if we do go further into tournament.
Well, I'd just add that when you get to the knockout stages, you tend to find that the teams that you'll play will be far more attacking, a bit more braver, and that's where England, I think, can benefit with a little bit of space down the sides. But you're right to mention, because England, one thing about this present England crop, I don't feel defensively they're as near as they should be to a team that can keep a clean sheet, even though... it was only Croatia, I'd say only, but Croatia did score 2 against England, and they've got through the other 2 games without conceding. But they got away with it. Last night, they slightly got away with it. The goal that was disallowed was literally hairline. It was tiny margin. So, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I think the back four, individually, I think Gay were good back end of the season. I think Conce has been solid for Villa. I mean, I know Jed Spencer's coming for a lot of criticism, but I don't think he's that bad. I think as an actual if you play him in his rightful position, which is an actual right back instead of all this nonsense with left back, and I think if you play him in his right back, you've got a steady player there that's very quick. He's athletic. He can stop the top attacking players. Obviously, you're just going to lose out from Reece James when you get going forward, but I'm not too bothered about that. We've got other players that should be coming to the party. Saka should be stepping up. He was poor last night. Rashford, I thought Rashford was good. He offered more in 5 minutes than what Gordon's done in 3 games.
Yeah, Liam, I mate, you're right, particularly on that point. Excuse me, about Jed Spence. I just think you need a right back at right back. Liam, Sheffield United fan, with a bit of common sense and diagnosing a lot of the issues that England have got, particularly going into this knockout stages. I mean, keep your calls coming in, 03717 223344. We want to chat to you about England. Scotland fans, we want to chat to you about Steve Clarke and that big news that he's leaving. But fantastic call from Liam. Now, Cass, a little bit earlier in the papers when Gabs came in, we spoke earlier about Granit Xhaka getting interest from Chelsea. talkSPORT understands he's keen on the move. Sunderland, absolutely not. I think that's only going one way. But let's take a look at a few more transfer stories doing the rounds at the minute. First of all, Morgan Rogers is in the papers this morning saying that Aston Villa should be accepting nothing less than £100 million from the likes of Arsenal, who've had this historic interest in him. 1, is he worth it? 2, is Arsenal the best club for him to go to?
Well, it's a terrific football club. I mean, look, I've always got deep sentiment for Aston Villa because I played there and I loved it at the football club and never wanted to leave when I was there. And unfortunately, 2 things come and I moved on. Arsenal are a club that are at the top of the tree now. So they're going to be vultures looking after, trying to get to players come to their club.
Yeah.
Morgan Rogers I think he's best out on the left, but not as a left winger. More, and that's where I think the difference is with Arsenal, that they can play that role.
Yes.
I think they will always have that Martinelli type that can come on and maybe be a sub, but certain starter and doing that. Trossard's done really well at Arsenal, but I would say Morgan Rogers is a much more physical, difficult player to play against and come in with goals. And Trossard's done great, from when he moved on from Brighton. But I do think it will be a position that Arteta will fill, that left side. Because I think Martinelli is going to be just in and out of the team way too often. I think he can be quite hit and miss, but when he does come on, he can make a difference.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think we saw Arsenal try to do that with Eberechi Eze, put him out on the left, and he's much better centrally. But I make you right about Morgan Rogers. He's one of those players that is better coming off the left into central positions. I think he's better at that than Eze.
Yeah, he is.
And as good as Trossard has been as a sort of consistent player for Arsenal, I really believe that this would be a great signing. But he's going to cost. If Elliot Anderson costs 130 or between 116 and 130, then you're going to have to pay 100 million plus for Morgan Rogers because we know
Arsenal have done it before with Declan Rice. They've done it, so they're at that top table now. Arsenal.
That's it, without a shadow of a doubt. Right, coming up in the next hour, we're going to look back at the Epsom derby, testing Cass's capital knowledge, but we've got a big guest coming up next in the form of former Newcastle, former Sunderland, and former Forest midfielder Jack Colback, live in studio on the World Cup Weekend Sports Breakfast Show.
You mentioned him there, right, and about Nico O'Reilly. Now, obviously, the manager made a change because he saw something in Ghana and he thought Spence would have been a better option. But you would have watched Nico week in, week out. Does it faze him, whoever he's playing against, however quick they are, strong they are? Is he just the perfect left back in terms of playing against anyone?
I tell you what is the difference between Nico and Jed Spence. Nico will get you a goal. He will get you a goal still and get you a goal.
Yeah.
I haven't seen enough of Jed Spence. I'm not Tottenham fan. I haven't seen enough of him, so I don't know. But being biased, he would be the first. He'd be the first name on the City team sheet, never alone the England team sheet. So, and when he came on, he had one of the two best chances. So, I wouldn't be quick to drop Nico. He's whatever he might lack as a fullback, he'll give you going forward the other way.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And he's fearless. He's fearless on the ball. You know, he can dribble like a midfielder. You know, he's a top player.
Let's sort of move it on to City while staying with England. You are edging closer to a deal for Elliot Anderson. And I said before the window opened, if United could buy one player that would be gettable, it would be Elliot Anderson. I'm not too sure about the price tag. I don't know what that's going to be. I know Forest have already rejected a deal worth about £121 million. Your views on him? You're excited by the prospect of him being a City player?
Yeah, I mean, I've never taken much notice of him, to be honest. You know what I mean? He's one of those players that you don't really, he scored against us last season and he was great. But the price tag, well, silly money for footballers, you know what I mean? Is any footballer worth that amount of money? But looking at him in this World Cup, he looks the real deal to me. He's got a good engine.
If there's one thing Brazil loves more than samba and sunshine, it's football, or as they call it, futebol. And trust me, this love story goes way back. It all started in 1884, when a young Brazilian named Charles Miller returned from England aged 21, carrying a pair of footballs and a Hampshire FA rulebook. He was basically the original influencer, bringing back trends from abroad. And just like that one mate who insists you have to try their new obsession, Miller convinced everyone to give this little English sport a go. Spoiler alert, it caught on. The entire nation fell head over boots for the game. And fast forward a few decades, it was time for Brazil to start playing in the World Cup. Then came 1958, the year a 17-year-old kid named Pelé showed up and said, "Don't worry, I got this." Brazil won its first World Cup and respectively put down its mark on the global football stage. From there, Brazil kept adding stars to the jersey. 1958, 1962, 1970, 1994, 2002, making it the only country with 5 World Cup titles and the only country to participate in every tournament. Not that they like to brag or anything. Okay, maybe a little. And the style? Pure magic. Jogo bonito, the beautiful game. It became Brazil's signature. Think dazzling footwork, joyful play, and the occasional move that makes you wonder if gravity just took the day off. Today, football isn't just a sport in Brazil. It's part of the national identity. From street games played with anything even slightly round to packed stadiums exploding with colour and noise, Brazil lives and breathes football. So, the next time you see that iconic yellow jersey, just remember, it all started with one guy, 2 footballs, and a nation ready to fall in love.
Yes, good morning. You are listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast Show here, live on talkSPORT with myself, Max Scott. And we've had a big night of football, of course. England topped their group yesterday with that 2-0 win over Panama. Here's how it sounded at full time on talkSPORT.
And the full-time whistle blows. And England have won the group, which is what they set out to do.
Yeah, we're going to continue our England review heading into the knockout stages. What do we make of that attacking performance? Not too bad, but defensively, I think there's a lot of questions to be asked elsewhere. Steve Clarke resigned as head coach following Scotland's exit from the World Cup. Mark McGee spoke to the boys on Sports Bar about that this morning.
He would sense that he's lost the trust of the Tartan army. I think there was a bit of a backlash, and I think the backlash wasn't temporary.
And then Messi made history again. He's the GOAT, isn't he? Unbelievable. Becoming the first man to score in 7 consecutive World Cup final matches. Here's how it sounded live on talkSPORT.
Left-footed shot, and there it is! History once again for Lionel Messi!
We'll bring you reaction from that and so much more. We've got loads to discuss. Absolutely huge final hour of The Breakfast Show. Send us a text, get in touch, 81089, or on WhatsApp, 0371722 3344. Keep your World Cup memories coming in as well. This is the World Cup Breakfast Show on talkSPORT. Right, we got a very special guest in the studio. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome in Super Jackie Colback, former Forest, Sunderland, Newcastle man. Jack, great to have you in, mate.
Good morning. Jack. Good morning. How are you?
Well, yeah, we're doing well, mate. And we're picking the bones out of last night. There's only one place for us to start, and that's England topping Group L, getting through to the World Cup knockouts.
Well, we've been here before. History littered with tournament winners who've hit bumps on the road, only to come good when it matters.
He's showing, I ain't scared, I'm taking it to you. So, listen, long live
Corner comes in. Oh, it is in! Jude Bellingham comes up trumps.
Yeah, it's an honour to play with him. For me, he's the best England player of all time.
Bellingham twisting left-hand side of the box, clipping it in for Kane! There it is! 2-0!
Hard match, a difficult match against a physical team, played as underdogs. We were the favourites, so...
Not their most convincing, but it is going to be what they needed to do. And the full-time whistle blows. And England have won the group, which is what they set out to do.
Yeah, England through to the last 32. Got Democratic Republic of Congo next after that 2-0 win over Panama. Let's get into it now, Jack. We'll start with some of the positives. Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane. No matter what, we can talk about the defence in a minute. We can talk about injuries, etc. But those two fit and firing look like they've got a special partnership going.
Yeah, they do. And I think that is what England need if they are going to go on to win the World Cup. I think they're the two world-class players we've got.
Yeah.
I think Bellingham showed so much last night. I thought playing in the 8, he influenced the game a lot more. I think he showed more in the first 20 minutes than he did the full Ghana game, really. And I think being in that position, it's easier for him to make them runs forward, like the one he got the assist for, because as a 10, you kind of always marked a bit, but the 8, you can kind of ghost in. And yeah, great performance from him. He's a top player, and obviously Harry Kane to score keeps his confidence high. So yeah, those were the positives, but still work to be done.
I would add in, I felt even in that setup that Morgan Rogers seemed to play his part as well. You know, because it was always deemed before the tournament started whether it be Bellingham or whether it be Morgan Rogers, and actually you can have the both in the same team because Morgan Rogers is very capable as a left-sided midfielder as well.
Yeah, exactly, and I think Rogers held his position quite a lot in the 10. I think Bellingham at times when he's not involved as much in the games, he comes looking for the ball and he drops a bit deeper. And I think with him, like I say, in the 8, I think he can be more influential. I think his defensive work as well was incredible, really. He was so good and he adds to the team as well. But I think he just showed a bit more kind of being in that 8, a bit more expectancy on him, really, to go and really control the game. And he did that.
When you talk about players coming deep in that 10 position, when is it a good thing and when is it a bad thing? Like, you played as a central midfielder. Can it be frustrating or sort of clog up the space if someone like Bellingham or you played with Morgan Gibbs-White, it's coming deep all the time? When's that a good thing? When's it a bad thing for a 10 to do that?
Well, I think in general, England congest the middle of the pitch a bit too much. You've got players dropping deep, as you say. Harry Kane at times drops deep to get on the ball, and even the fullbacks coming inside and stuff. And I think at times you've got Elliot Anderson, who is almost players on his toes a bit. And I think when you've got a player as good as Anderson, you trust him to be that player, to dictate and to find the 10, to find the pockets of space. So, and I think more so really, it's you want your 10s, your best players, your most technical players really in the areas higher up the pitch. And the deeper the drop, if I was playing against that, I'd love that. You know, I'd say no problem. You go down there and get the ball because you're not going to really hurt us there.
No, and that's the thing is that you when you're a midfielder, and all midfielders want an option in front of them. Really, that you can play the ball with purpose. So when they receive it, they can receive it earlier. But when you go sideways and backwards, or pick the ball up from the goalkeeper, I think it gets very limited for the forward players.
Yeah, and I think we do at times play a lot of kind of those 10-yard passes, pointless passes. Like I say, at times we have the three centre halves building up, and they're kind of playing balls that aren't going to hurt the opposition team. And I just think just get Anderson on the ball, let him try and find the pockets, and go from there. And then fast attacks. Otherwise, it becomes far too slow, which it was against Ghana. It was a bit better last night against Panama, but. Yeah, we need to speed up the play really in them areas.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's fascinating sort of analysis. Now, let's talk about defence. We were talking about it just in the break there. Cass and I disagree on this. I think you should play Jed Spence at right back. And it all ultimately, it all goes back to the squad selection. You've picked Reece James, who's not very fit. You've left someone like Lewis Hall at home, who, yes, is a left back, but he can play at right back. I think he should play Spence at right back. Cass thinks he should play maybe someone like Declan Rice. You played as a central midfielder in full back, particularly for Forest during that promotion season. How do you think Thomas Tuchel should address the defensive issues that England have clearly got?
I'd have played Trent there.
Yeah, well,
personally, but
this is what Max was saying. What I was trying to say is that there's going to be games you don't need two holding midfielders, right? So you can't drop someone like Declan Rice, but I feel he could do what Paul McGrath could do, Steven Gerrard could do, and there's been other midfielders that can go. You can play a defensive role if need be.
Dominic Szoboszlai.
Yeah, exactly. That can do that. But I totally get. Most people like us were looking and going, well, it's so obvious that Trent should have gone anyway.
Yeah, I think I would go with putting Declan Rice there. I think Tuchel's got a slight issue now because of how well Bellingham played in the 8.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you have to play Rice. And I think Rice plays because of how good he is with set players, and that can be the difference. So do you put him there right back? I think it's a good option. You're not going to take out Elliot Anderson, so it's trying to fit everyone in, but I think he could do a job there. He's an intelligent footballer, so you would...
He could play centre-half, couldn't he?
Yeah.
He could play centre-half, he could play full-back. He's one of them.
Yeah.
There's very few. You come across players like that in your career, you go, do you know what? You could play him for different positions and he'd be fine.
Yeah, he'd probably be more disciplined than Jed Spence would be, to be honest. So.
Well, you played with Jed Spence, and I remember watching, you at left back, Jed Spence at right back, Forest storming the championship, and Jed Spence looked like a player in that... Forest, we beat Arsenal in the FA Cup 1-0. He had Martinelli in his absolute back pocket, and he looks like, he's an incredible athlete. He's incredibly quick. He's got a good right foot on him as well. But from text, from conversations we're having, lots of people just don't know if Thomas Tuchel is fully convinced. He had an opportunity to start him in his favoured position yesterday. He didn't. What's he like? Because he's clearly talented, but maybe there's a concern from Thomas Tuchel about whether he's really fully focused, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't understand how he goes from starting left back and then we have an injury on the right-hand side and he doesn't start right back.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's Tuchel's decision. But, yeah, look, Jed can be in his own little world at times. Very good player. It was great for us. Strong defensively, really quick. So a good asset against these sort of teams that a lot of teams play on the counter-attack and stuff. So he's a good player, but he's not one who, or certainly what I experienced, would be kind of 100% in training every day. We kind of almost let him get away with certain things because he was doing so well for us on a match day. So maybe he sees a bit of that. Obviously, you saw the clips of him berating him in the Ghana game. And I suppose there's little things like that. The manager has to trust players. And is there a little bit lack of trust there? I don't know, but it's remarkable, really, because he's at the World Cup and he's in the squad, so he should have that already.
Well, is it one of them, Jack, that you can go, all I want you to do, if he comes up against the left winger, say we're talking of Vinicius Junior, someone like that, and you just go to him, I want you to literally stand on his toes the whole game. Because I think Jed Spence can do that.
Yes.
If he stays on
he's
that.
focused.
If he just stays and says, I don't want you going venturing off. I don't want you forgetting who's behind you and losing your position. If he just says, I want you to literally stay with him. I think he can do that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think he's good enough defensively to match a player like that. I just think it's maybe what you lack then going forward. I don't know. It's a tricky one, really. But defensively, he's obviously, there's no question marks on him. But
I agree with you. I think because of the athlete he is, and you see it cast as more that sometimes he'll lose the ball. He's just really good at getting it back because he's so
but that's, like I watched him a lot of Tottenham this year, going to games and watched him, and I kept thinking there's some great stuff that he does. But sometimes he will get into a position where he has to be so quick to get there. And if you're up against the very best and they're quick as well, you won't get it. You won't get there.
Yeah, when you look at France and you look at the opportunities we gave Panama last night, like you get obliterated against a team like France, regardless of how quick you are. Because
whether it's Barcola, whether it's Doué.
Yeah, it's incredible. So I think that's a concern for England, certainly.
Yeah. Look, I certainly got carried away after that first game. I got carried away after just that second half against Croatia. I was thinking,
carried away at 6 o'clock in the morning.
So, look, I'd love to talk more England. This is absolutely unbelievable, mate. But we've got to talk other stuff the other side of the break. The last thing I'm going to say to you, we've got DR Congo in the round of 32. We're in the same bracket as Brazil or Japan. That's going to be an absolute belter live on talkSPORT tomorrow afternoon. Genuinely, how far do you think England are going to go in this tournament? Not how far they can go, because of course the easy thing says, anyone can win it. How far do you think England are going to go?
It's $1 million question, isn't it? I think they have to improve defensively. I think they have to find the right 11. We're kind of making a lot of changes. I know there's been injuries, but you've got to have a settled 11, at least a settled back four.
Now the knockout stages.
Yeah.
You have to have your 11.
Yeah, he's got to make his mind up now, hasn't he?
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't worry too much about Brazil. I don't think Brazil are Brazil of old.
No.
I suppose it's when you get to maybe Argentina, I think that'll be difficult ones to maybe semis. But listen, everyone's been saying we're going to win the World Cup. Tuchel's come out and said that's the objective. So nothing less than that really is good enough.
Yeah, show us what you're made of, Thomas Tuchel. Get that back four right, and maybe, just maybe, England can bring football home. We've got Super Jack Cole back in the studio. We're talking England. Up next, we're going to get stuck into some of his former clubs and the transfer news surrounding Elliot Anderson, Granit Xhaka, Newcastle, Tonali, Guimaraes. Get in touch if you've got a question for Jack. 81089 03717 223344.
I just think our options, like we bring O'Reilly on, he gets the header in the box late on. You start putting bodies in the box against these low defensive block teams. Like it was calling out for Tony to come on for me, get more bodies in the box, because we had players come on, put more crosses in the box. Saka come on and made an impact, I thought. But I just think Saka and Rashford has to start.
He's got to take the skipper off if he does.
So that was John Terry sitting exactly where Sam is this morning. This clamour for Rashford, you've got a view in that, haven't you?
Well, I just don't remember the last time Rashford started the game for England was particularly impactful. It's always the way, whatever you haven't got is what you cry out for when you don't get the outcomes that you want. The main thrust of England's game was they didn't fizz the ball around. If you move the ball quickly, you move people around. And it was interesting that they put Saka on, which I think makes a lot of difference when he comes on, because he's a clever player, he creates outcomes. And the numbers that he throws out on the field are quite staggering when he's actually on the field. And then he shifted Madueke dugout side so that the coach could be in his ear driving him forward. I think the other thing, I think Rashford comes on as an impact player. If you're playing the last 20 minutes of a game and Rashford comes on with a wild hair up his backside because he hasn't been in the side, he's been replaced by Anthony Gordon at Barcelona and England and wants to play, which is the Rashford that we've got now. Tragically, for a boy of his talent, he's a consequence player. Every time he does something that gets him consequence, he responds to it. He doesn't play well for a season. The England team need him to be available for the next World Cup. He has a good season. He goes away, gets himself into trouble by not turning up for a training session, gets consequence. Next 3 games, he plays very well. So I don't think Rashford starting is the answer. I think the midfield, popping the ball around against teams that sit in and defend. And interestingly, I watched the Panamanians. These are not a bad side. They are quite a dynamic side. I thought the first 25 minutes, 30 minutes of games against Croatia was quite exciting.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Yes, good morning. It's a World Cup weekend breakfast show on talkSPORT, also live on YouTube, on your smart TV, on TikTok. I'm your host, Max Scott. I've got former Chelsea striker Tony Cascarino alongside me, and we're joined in studio by Super Jack Colback, former Forest, Sunderland, Newcastle midfielder. Just had a great chat about England, diagnosing not only the defensive issues that are quite obvious, but that clogged up midfield and potentially Declan Rice might solve an issue at right back, giving Jude Bellingham that space in the centre of midfield. If you didn't listen, go back on YouTube after the show finishes and have a listen to that. Now, we're going to get stuck into the big transfer story of this summer, Jack, which, of course, surrounds Elliot Anderson. I mean, it's mad to think that Forest are selling somebody in the region of a British record transfer. We understand that deal's been agreed, £116 million. Set to have a medical before completing his move to the Etihad. And before we get your view on it, former Newcastle manager Steve Bruce appeared on H&J midweek. He told the story of giving Anderson his debut as a young player at St James's Park.
I gave him his debut, yeah.
Wow,
I gave him his
really?
debut as a kid, yeah. I think we had Arsenal twice in a week, and he came into the team and was a bit of a breath of fresh air, I have to tell you. He was always a young, exciting talent. You had to be a little bit careful with him because it took him a long time to really develop. But his natural ability was there when I was there as a 17 or 18-year-old when I gave him his debut.
Janet. Did you meet Janet?
Yeah.
Catching up, boys, in the Clipcast. Steve Bruce speaking to H&J about giving that debut. Jack, look, talk to me. You've obviously, you weren't at Newcastle at the same time, but you've watched him at Forest keenly. The way he's developed at the club's absolutely unbelievable, and he will have been sad to leave, but it was the best move of his life, surely, from Newcastle to Forest.
Well, looking at it now, yeah. Obviously, he's went there and played games, and he's developed a lot. I think I didn't realise how good he was until I watched him live, really. Went to a few Forest games, and to me, he just has it all. Defensively, he's very good, tenacious, aggressive, presses well, but also on the ball. I think he's always looking for that forward pass, and he's got the ability.
See, one of the biggest, I think, tests you always as players, and Jack goes and watches Elliot Anderson, you go and watch him, and it's if you reach a really high, consistent level, that you're always a 7, 8 out of 10 every week, you're a dream for the team, aren't you? That's what I always see in Elliot Anderson, is a very high consistency level.
Yeah, I think to get a player with his ability and his commitment to the work rate and the dirty side of the game as well is just, like I say, he's a real, to me, an old-fashioned midfielder who does everything.
But he's played attacking midfield, hasn't he? When he first came in at Newcastle, he was more attack-minded.
Yeah, I think he went on loan, didn't he? I think Joey Barton came out and said he was really impressed with his kind of movement into the box and stuff, which meant he was obviously playing a bit higher up. So
He played on the left for Newcastle quite a lot.
Yeah.
Like, come off the bench, he plays sort of like left wing almost, but a bit more centrally.
See, this is the versatility of what we were going back to earlier. Yeah. Some players can do it.
Without doubt. And now, with him, I agree with you. It's not just the fact he's won more duels than any midfielder in the top 5 European leagues. It's the fact that with the ball at his feet, so silky, he gets out of those tight spaces. That's what I think sets him apart. Now, I've gone big on Elliot Anderson. Look, I'm a proud Forest fan. Season ticket all my life. I've gone big and said he's one of the best midfielders in Europe. I think that people have got a bit of bias because he's wearing a Forest shirt, because Forest aren't in the so-called Big Six at the minute. I don't think people can quite see it. Do you think he's got what it takes to be right at the very top for a long time?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's got the right attitude, which is the most important thing. He's probably going to change his game a bit, really, because the amount of duels he wins for Forest, he won for the Man City team. Yeah, he'll have the ball instead. So he'll adapt his game the other way. But like I said, he's got that vision. He's always looking to thread the ball through the lines. He played some lovely balls last night, and that's why I go back to, I think he's good enough to just let him go and dictate the play for England.
I think there's more to come from him in this tournament.
Yeah,
I think you'll see him excel in the knockout stages and different types of football matches, which I think he'll excel in.
Give me a minute about Forest, because he's obviously on the way out. There's been talk, there's lots of different reports that there's interest from Forest in Lucas Bergvall. How do Forest go about replacing a player like Elliot Anderson, who, alongside Morgan Gibbs-White, has been like the heartbeat of this team?
Yeah, I think time will tell, really. I think it's going to be difficult. If Anderson is this player that's going to go on to be one of the best midfielders in the world, etc., then it's difficult to replace a player like that. But I think they've got to invest smartly. They've got to invest around that. You're maybe not going to get player for player at all, really. But I played against Bergvall when I was at QPR a couple of seasons ago, pre-season, and I thought he was top. I'm not sure if he offers the same defensively, but yeah, it's a tricky one, really. But Forest have done well with the recruitment so far, so I'm sure they know what they're doing.
Obviously, it were a tumultuous season last season, 4 different managers. Heading into next season, what do you think the realistic expectation is for the club without Elliot Anderson? With Vitor Pereira, there's a contract on the table. There's no news about whether he's signed that, but I fully expect him to be there next season. What do you expect from the club in the Premier League? Do you think they'll be in a relegation fight again?
Hopefully not. Obviously, the owner's really ambitious. He'll want to be up back competing for the Champions League spaces. And I think the way the league is now, I think there's not much between finishing 17th and finishing 8th or 9th.
Yeah.
You look at Brentford last season, and they had a great season. I wouldn't be surprised if they were down there this season. That's how good the teams are now. There's a lot of good players throughout the teams because of the money involved now. You can go and give top European players good wages, and they want to come and play in the Premier League. So I think Forest will be looking to get back to where they were the season before, and hopefully the owner sticks with the manager for a bit, and he does well, because that's what they need. They need a settled manager for a few years, really, to push on.
You mentioned the owner there, Mr. Marinakis. You say he's incredibly ambitious. A lot's made about him in the press. In Nottingham, he's like a king for what he's done for the club. What was it like? What was your interactions with him like? Because every time I speak to players, they absolutely love the guy.
Yeah, I mean, you look at him and he's got his critics, and the way he does certain things. Certainly in Greece, you can't really get away with over here. But I think for me, he's done wonderful for the club, and I think he's an owner who genuinely cares about the club, and he's ambitious. I remember a meeting we had trying to sort out the bonuses that you get, and he was on. This was the season after we just got promoted, so we're thinking just stay in the league, but he was already thinking about Europe and challenging. So. Full credit to Mr. Marinakis. We had 1 or 2 Zoom calls early on in my career at Forest where we weren't doing too well, and it was like there's a meeting, and the manager didn't even know about it. And you go in there, and Marinakis will come on the screen, and he's a big Greek bloke, berating us, saying, "You better, start winning games, or you can leave." So that was a bit like
I had Bernard Tapie at Marseille, and exactly the same. Come in the dressing room, take his jacket off, literally roll up his sleeves as he was talking to you, and then talk and say, right, you, and you, and you'll be gone, and literally pointing at people.
Yeah, I'd never seen it before, even to the point you'd have the kind of chief exec, who was Greek at the time, he'd be in the tunnel at half time at games, just kind of stood there, almost looking that you're disappointed when we weren't winning. And I was thinking, what's going on? I was on the phone to my agent saying, what you done to me here? But now, yeah, he's done wonderful stuff for the club, and it's a fantastic club, and one I hold very, very close to my heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we do too as well, mate. That goal, that West Brom goal that you definitely meant, that volley, one of the best I've seen at the City Ground.
Yeah, that's what they say, the greatest there's ever been, but, you know.
in the top one. Right, up next, enough of Forest. We're going to chat Newcastle. Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, both linked with exits. Is there some trouble brewing at St James's Park?
Ronaldo is top, still top. But Haaland, for instance, is a better finisher.
Let me ask you this. In world football, I said this, Bettany, on yesterday's show, and I got a little bit of criticism. In his pomp, right? I'll ask you both. I'll start with Benny.
I heard it.
I said R9 is a better finisher than Cristiano Ronaldo.
No, do you know,
he's a better striker, number 9.
No, do you know what you said, right? And you said he was a better goal scorer.
Okay.
Right? Now, for me, R9 is a better centre forward. Like, so I don't think it's even close, right? But what people will do is look at the numbers. And this is where sometimes stats-wise, like the new generation will go, if I say R9's better than Ronaldo, Cristiano, they're going to go, are you crazy? He's scored 1,000 goals. But sometimes it's not about just stats. It's about what does your eyes tell you. And anyone who's watched, so you would have watched him, R9 is the best centre forward I've ever seen.
R9, for me, that's my hero. You know, he is... That's why I wanted to become a striker. You look at him, and Ronaldo has done absolutely magnificent. Yeah, and Ronaldo, it's all about numbers and goal scoring, and he's obsessed with that, and that makes him so good. But R9 is just phenomenal. He's just incredible.
Better.
Oh yeah, as a footballer,
you
so much
both
more
agree with
natural.
me on that.
Yeah, but you said because the way you said goal scorer.
Yeah.
Now you can't compare the numbers because Ronaldo's numbers are crazy.
You know what I mean? Like a better player.
He's a better player.
Yeah.
He's a better player. He's the things that he used to do, picking up the ball and dribbling, the goals that he scored for Barcelona.
Yeah, final half an hour of the World Cup weekend breakfast show. Me, Max Scott, alongside former Gillingham striker Tony Cascarino and Jack Colback, former Sunderland, Newcastle and Nottingham Forest midfielder, is joining us. Reminder, send us your text in 81089, your knockout stories. I tell you what, we've got a couple of texts coming in for you, Jack. Love from Sunderland and Newcastle fans. Right, Paul says in Seaham, Sunderland fan dear, tell Jack Colback was gutted when he left Sunderland for the Magpies. Real shame what could have been. And then Mark, the Newcastle fan, says, good lad, Jack, used to deliver his shopping at in Newcastle. Only player to answer the door and not hide. Man of the people, mate.
It's nice to get some good comments from Newcastle and Sunderland.
First time ever breaking news. Brilliant stuff. Right, we're going to get stuck into Sunderland and Newcastle in a moment.
You haven't asked him who he likes best, though.
Who do you like best?
Forest.
There we go. Correct answer. He's on fire. Right. Let's have a quick look at what's coming up on talkSPORT later today. Yeah, following the weekend breakfast crew, we got the warm-up with Max Rushton and Charlie Baker. Then the World Cup weekender with Adam Catterall and Sean Dyche is from 1 till 4 p.m. Then Madge and Pards are back with a World Cup game day live from 4 p.m. And then the first knockout game at the round of 32, presented by Ollie Klink, Canada versus South Africa. Coverage starts from 7 p.m. And then the boys from the Sports Bar are back. Jamie O'Hara, Jason Cundy take all your calls from 10 p.m. till late. Right, another June week passes. Another key Newcastle player is being linked away. Anthony Gordon's already gone. Barcelona might be wondering what they've done with that £70 million after some of his performances. But I digress. Sandro Tonali also looks set to follow. Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento, Harvey Barnes have all been subject of speculation. And now Captain Bruno Guimaraes. talkSPORT understands that Newcastle absolutely do not want to sell him. The Brazilian international is under contract till the summer of 2028. Newcastle want to extend that deal. Jack, I mean, spare a thought for Eddie Howe, who, you know, has come in. They've got Saudi ownership, all the money in the world. They've had Champions League football, difficult season last season, and now all their key stars being linked away. I mean, what do you make of the situation there?
Yeah, I think it's obviously the consequence of them not qualifying for Europe, isn't it? But it's just such a strange one because like, they're the richest club in the world, but they can't sign players and they're losing all the best players.
It's having a checkbook, no pen.
Yeah, which is, I think even for the fans, he had all this excitement, you know, that there are a lot of years of disappointment and frustration before that. And then you get these new owners coming in and you're getting Champions League football. And they kind of got there probably quicker than imagined, really.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But then they've not been able to kick on from that, and they've then fallen away. Like you say, they can't seem to sign the players that they need to stay up there. So, I mean, for Eddie Howe, I think, you know, he's done an unbelievable job. A lot of the players, or not a lot, a few players are still there when I was there and still playing games. So he's had them players in the Champions League. So, yeah, frustrating for him, I bet. He's a good guy. He's committed to the job, but you wonder how long, you know, he can last under them circumstances.
Yeah, it's really it's a combination of things, but mainly it's the idea around revenue and what you create and how much you can spend. And if you can't go and spend, you know, 70% of your or 30% because you have to, you know, all these financial fair play stuff that's gone on. I know it's all different now, but you have to get, like Arsenal last year, over 770 million. That enables them to be really aggressive. So you're only giving all the money to the elite teams all the time.
It feels so unfair that a club like Newcastle
can't get in there.
One club city, massive fan base.
Well, it's Villa as well, Everton.
And Villa, Everton, Forest. They've got money they can spend, but they're not allowed to spend it. It must be so frustrating if you're at Newcastle trying to build something, but you just know you're always at risk of, you know, Sandro Tonali to Spurs. I mean, if I'm a Newcastle fan and Sandro Tonali goes to Spurs, who finished 17th back-to-back seasons or just avoided relegation, that is a proper kick in the teeth.
Yeah, absolutely. And you wonder what he's thinking as well.
Yeah.
You know, is it location? I think that's always been one with Newcastle. Not many players want to go and live in the northeast. You wonder, you look at it.
There's always been a big London thing, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Especially for foreign players. We can pretend here, but most players I played with in France would say to me, I'd love to go to England. Where do you want to go? You know, what club? Or they'd all say, well, London.
I think a lot of the players as well, the European players, they wouldn't look at Newcastle and think they're a big club. I think you could compare it to Man City when they first came into money, but they've managed to kind of spend money.
Well, all these financial rules came in sort of after Man City were able to spend all their money, after Roman Abramovich was able to make Chelsea what they became. And so I do feel sorry for, I feel sorry particularly for Newcastle because they've got all this money. How do you expect their season to go if the likes of Guimaraes, if the likes of Sandro Tonali, if they leave? I personally, and it is sad to say, I can't see them sticking with Eddie Howe because I think he's, there was already a lot of pressure on him last season. I wonder what happens to Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, if they lose that calibre of player and don't replace it, a few seasons ago they won a European trophy, and now they're in the Championship.
Yeah, it's the standstill scenario, isn't it? If you stand still, you're left behind.
Definitely now. The money involved now, this is what I mean. Your teams like Bournemouth can give out 150 grand a week to players. Do you know what I mean?
We could buy Bournemouth, not so long.
Let's talk about Sunderland. Granit Xhaka has been linked with a move to Chelsea. If you take if you read on social media, which you shouldn't spend much time doing, lots of people saying, what on earth is Xabi Alonso thinking? He's been so important to Sunderland, your old club. He's been so important to Xabi Alonso in the past. Can you see that as a signing that actually makes sense for where Chelsea are at?
Yeah, and I think it shows that Alonso's got some control there. It's not a signing that Chelsea would have made last season at all. And obviously he's worked with them before at Leverkusen, won the league there. So I think you used to see that a lot more when I was first starting out, and even 5 years ago, where managers would sign a lot of players they've worked with before, because you can go back to the Jed Spence conundrum of attitude and all that. Managers find players who they trust and who produce for them, and they want to work with them again. So I think it makes sense. He obviously wants to add some experience and some leadership, which is what that group of players needs.
Yeah. See, if I ask Jack, I guarantee, when I first started, you go to a football club and you meet very experienced players in there, and they nurture you and they drive the dressing room and lead. Now, Chelsea have gone the complete other way. I'm sure when you first started playing, you'd go, oh, by the way, I met along the way, or I played with, that's someone that helped me and develop into a better player. Would that be fair, Jack?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who would have been your first sort of type of player at a football club, which was the experienced guy, that it worked for you working with them?
I would say John O'Shea would be the main one. Great captain he was, great leader.
At Sunderland, that
yeah, and he would, not just in a positive sense, he would pull me to one side if I'd maybe said something out of turn at that point, or I disagreed with something. He'd show leadership, and there's that hierarchy which I think is gone now in football. There's not that respect level.
Was that towards the end of the career? Did you feel that in the dressing room?
Yeah, I'd say the last 3-4 years, a lot of young lads playing now, they come and train and they think they've cracked it. You could dig them out, come on you, and you get some back, which is like.
And did that shock you at the time?
Yeah, because that was unheard of when I was first starting. You wouldn't speak. You'd keep your head down. You'd make one bad pass and you'd be getting absolutely hammered off the senior lads. But then you would get into the first team. Then you'd play a few games and kind of
earn your stripes.
Yeah, exactly. And then it would change. But I don't think you get that now. I think there's people in general just demand respect from the get go,
or expect respect immediately without having to prove it.
Yeah, and without giving it themselves.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd love to be a fly on the dressing room wall if Granit Xhaka goes to Chelsea with all those incredibly well-paid young stars that I think have been bereft of any leadership. I can totally see why Xabi Alonso would get someone like him in to really do a job on a leadership level and get young players. Think of that Garnacho, for example. Really try to get him playing at the potential. On Sunderland, though, I've got a sneaky feeling. I've seen Forest this season play European football and struggle. Do you think Sunderland are going to find it difficult to manage both the Premier League and European football next season?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of evidence in years gone by that it really affects teams. Even the likes of Villa and Newcastle, it affected their league season when they were in Europe and they had decent squads and really better players than what Sunderland have. So I think the investment's key. What they do in the market in terms of who they bring in is important, but what they did last season was remarkable. So it's going to be difficult playing, on a Thursday and then playing again on a Sunday, travelling all that time. It does take it out of you, not so much physically, but mentally as well. You kind of never get time to switch off. And the amount of analysis you go through now, it's draining at times
Yeah.
because there's meetings every day. I used to have one meeting on a Friday, you know, you're picking up him on a corner. Now it's every day. So I think it's more that. It's just.
Well, you can't have too many meetings.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, the meeting's about having a meeting sometimes, isn't it? And you're like, well, we don't need another meeting.
I know. It's
If
mad.
you're clear and concise about everything, before every match, everyone knows their job and you're confident and trust players to do it.
Yeah.
I'd rather do short and sharp.
Yeah, of course, but it's not that now. No, it's 25.
You don't get an iPad each year. And I laugh about the iPad. It comes out every opportunity, like during games on the sidelines. I mean, it's everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah, it's becoming such a huge thing. I think even looking at some decisions that got talked about with England, it's almost overthinking it. You know, like trust the players a bit more. There's so much information now. It's almost like players are becoming robots. If the ball's there, you go there. And it's taken away that decision making from an individual player.
Jack, I'd love for us to carry on. We got a break, and we got the great Shabana Hearn joining us next. But before we leave, what are you up to these days? Like now you're fully retired. What's going on in the life of Jack Colback?
I'm really trying at the minute to improve my golf swing. It's kind of I play around and I think I've cracked it. And then the next one, it's gone, and it's the most frustrating thing.
Join the club.
Yeah, it's a common theme, but yeah, just trying to stay busy. Really, I've got a 2-year-old who keeps me busy. So yeah, just watching the game and
thinking of coaching. Or?
Not yet, no, not yet. I think that's a big commitment in terms of time, and that's one thing I've kind of
an opportunity.
Yeah, and it's like going back to the analysis talk and all of that. It's a lot now, and I'm not sure if it's for me, to be honest.
Well, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. You'll have to come back soon for sure. Thank you so much for joining us. Last question: Who's having a better season next season out of Forest, Newcastle, and Sunderland? Who's finishing higher in the Premier League?
I know what he's going to say.
Forest.
Good answer. Good answer. Right, Jack Colback, mate. Super Jackie Colback, former Sunderland, Newcastle, Forest legend in the studio. Mate, we'll speak to you very soon. You're listening to the World Cup Weekend Breakfast Show. From one special guest to another, Shabana Hearn is back with us in the final section of the show to talk about Steve Clarke leaving Scotland.
Listen, I love him, and people have asked me would I take him at Arsenal 100%. But you look at the last 2 seasons, Real Madrid, and then you look at the last 2 seasons for PSG, the 2 Champions Leagues. They were chasing the Champions League for so long. He moves out, they win back to back. It just doesn't look well.
Yeah,
Mbappe, does it?
You could say that he's responsible for that, but in the meantime, when you see what Luis Enrique, the Paris Saint-Germain manager, has changed, the way the team has changed, the unity, everybody is playing for each other, they're fighting for each other, on the pitch. And that's why, in every team they've met, they're beating because of that. They have the quality, but they show, real mentality, unity all together, the togetherness, But Kylian Mbappe, I think I won't be the guy who will say that he's the one responsible for the mess at Madrid. I think if you have Mbappe in your team, you are in a good position to win something. Yeah. It depends as well of other players. The ego of players, in Madrid is so huge and devastating. In the dressing room.
Is he the best player on the planet?
Actually,
yeah.
I won't say that. He's one of them.
Who is?
This season, or you're saying
right now? If you're going to maybe write a list of your top 5 players, who would be number 1 best player in the world right now?
I really love Olise.
Morning, final section of the World Cup weekend breakfast show. Got Max Scott here alongside Marseille striker Tony Cascarino. And it's not just World Cup action coming up later. F1 is back, and this week they're in the beautiful, picturesque hills of Austria for the Austrian Grand Prix. Here's talkSPORT's Tom Clayton with everything you need to know from yesterday's busy qualifying session.
Saturday saw an enthralling yet perhaps controversial F1 qualifying for the Austrian Grand Prix. Mercedes' George Russell took pole, but in dubious circumstances. The yellow flags were out after Max Verstappen's crash at the final corner, yet Russell still went through to set the fastest time of the session, securing top spot for today's race. The officials adjudged him to have lifted off the throttle just enough before getting back on it to power to the line and go fastest. Teammate and championship leader Kimi Antonelli backed out completely when he saw the yellows, so he'll go from fourth. The Silver Arrows are split by the prancing horses as Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton took their Ferraris to second and third. Despite crashing, Verstappen, who sees this as a home race with his Red Bull team officially being based in Austria, will go from fifth on the grid. Lights out in the Styrian Mountains at 2 p.m. talkSPORT will bring you all the live updates as the hills come alive with the sound of motorised monsters.
Yeah, that's a 2 o'clock start. Tom will bring you all the latest during the race all afternoon here on talkSPORT. But of course, we have to finish the show talking about Steve Clarke and reacting to that big news that he's left his job as Scotland head coach, bringing an end to an absolutely historic tenure in Scotland. And there's only one person we've got to speak to about it. The Queen of Scotland, Weekend Breakfast very own Shaban Hearn is back with us down the line. Shaban, we were speaking about him yesterday about the frustration of his demeanour was quite interesting sort of after those Morocco and Brazil games. I asked you, do you think he'll go, or do you think the appetite is for him to be gone? People texting in this morning are confused. Some Scotland fans are happy, some aren't. What do you make of it?
Good morning to you, Max. Morning, Cass.
Hi, Shaban.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of a rude awakening to that this morning. Didn't set my alarm. So, when you wake up and Jamie went, Steve's gone, I went, oh my God.
What did you do to him, Shaban? What did you say to him?
How dare you blame me? Honestly, I'm really not surprised. It's a shame. It is a shame that it's come to this. But I think with then last night, yesterday, has been down to like 0.5% of going through, considering it's been touted as the easiest World Cup to get to and the easiest World Cup to get out of the group and progress to the round of 32, and we've not been part of that. And we literally didn't do enough to be there. Yet we should have been one of those teams who had gotten there. I'm actually not surprised. I think he's seen last night, that's it, we're toast now, we can't go through, and it's time for me to go as well, which I think is quite an honourable thing for him to do, and it must be very, very difficult. But to step down and say, okay, I can't take us further, it is interesting. I feel for him in the manner in which it's happened. I really do, because those last two games, we've not seen the best of this side, and we've not seen the best of Steve Clarke. So I think for him to go in this way is a bit of a shame. His open letter to the fans was really nice.
So, Shaban, I said yesterday after the show, I said it just felt like the camp wasn't right. And even the way you spoke, and you felt that it should be a joyous occasion. It just didn't feel like that. And I just felt there was something much deeper going on, whatever it was within the camp that wasn't right.
Yeah, I think, Cass, you were the first kind of person who mentioned it. And yesterday I did sit here and I did say to you guys that it felt like sometimes it was a little bit, where is the fun here? It was more of a death march than it was at the World Cup. And sometimes you would go into the camp almost like, I would say, kind of, what mood are we getting today? Kind of thing. And we have to remember we're at a World Cup, and the Tartan Army are representing, and everyone's having a good time. I also understand there's this massive pressure on Scotland and a massive pressure on Steve Clarke to be different, to be a team that's not failing, kind of thing, because we are known as being the bottle jobs, the laughing stock, people calling us the Spurs of international football, all that kind of stuff. So we have to take this serious approach. We're not just the Scots. We're not just known because our fan base can drink Miami and drink Boston dry. We have to be more than that. So if they're trying to strike this balance, I don't think we got it right. I think people should be entitled to be themselves in those situations. And Steve certainly was himself. And I think his real self doesn't really fit that mould entirely of what we want to see or how we want to be represented. But he got us there.
Yeah.
You know, he got us there. Those 3 occasions, you know, yes, Sir Ike and Boogie, no Scotland, no party, our goalless win against England, the qualifying night against Denmark at Hampden, taking over Boston. That is all thanks to one person, and that is Steve Clarke. You know, so he deserves all the flowers in the world for that. And I think the players probably could have done more. And you know, they'll all be licking their wounds now on that long flight home. They will be. But I mean, hats off to him. He's given me, you know, from Scotland, he's given me the times, you know, to enjoy watching Scotland, and so many others. So for that, thank you, Steve Clarke. And it's a shame that it's come down to this.
Yeah, well said, because of course it was a disappointing way to end the tournament and to not qualify, like you're saying, in the easiest World Cup there ever has been to do that. But in the same breath, he's been, you know, historically successful manager, so fair play to him. And I know this is sort of premature, Shaban, but is there a sort of a profile of manager, you know, off the back of, I think, performances that have lacked courage? Do you think that the Scottish FA will change tack and look for maybe a different profile of manager moving forward?
Possibly. I'm seeing a lot of love for Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah.
And we know my feelings on him. So, yeah, I like the idea of that. You know, again, with this team, we could be more. You look at these teams following that third place, that should have been us. We could have been there. We have the team. We've got the personnel to do that. It's now about finding the right person who can make them believe that when they're playing for Scotland. Cass, what you said yesterday about O Flower of Scotland and the anthem just not matching up or living up to what we were, you know, at these international tournaments and at the World Cup has really stuck with me. You know, we need to bring someone in who can bring that out of us and be that team that can be hard to beat and be feared and show the quality that we've got. I mean, I'm sick of hearing people saying good team, lol, like whatever, get over yourself. And I'm like, no, this is a good team.
Yeah, definitely.
There's not a good
better.
Yeah.
This is the best team I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's unlucky. Good luck to him. And yeah, big Anjan.
Shaban, I think it'd be fascinating to see, by the way. And I mean, look, we've got a break in a moment, but, you know, it goes without saying that the Scotland camp might have been dour. And I know this, I said this yesterday, but you've been an absolute superstar. You've been the bringer of joy for people watching from home in terms of the Scotland camp. So amazing work. You're obviously back. I need to know, are you back next weekend?
That's it, Max. You've had your fun. Up the road, taxis outside, Max. You and Steve Clarke.
Well,
on you go.
Now I'm done. I don't think they'll pay for the taxi. I'll have to walk.
You've been brilliant, Max. And Kaz has even given you a glowing report as well. I can't wait to see you all next week. So thank you for having me. It's been great fun. It really has been. Apart from the football, we had a good time.
Oh, good. Well, I've been keeping the seat warm. We can't wait to have you back, Shaban, in the studio, and we'll see you very soon.
No, great stuff. Great stuff.
Absolutely. Quick update, by the way. If you want the chance to win £26,000 tax-free to celebrate the 2026 FIFA World Cup, we're giving you away the big bucks. Fund your summer and enter right now. Head to talksportwin.com to enter and for T's and C's. That's it this morning, Cass. It's been an absolute pleasure the last few weeks, mate.
Yeah, gears. Cheers. And, great stuff, mate.
Into the knockout rounds of this World Cup. Every single game live on the talkSPORT network. Up next, it's the warm-up with Max Rushton and Charlie Baker.
What have you made of Stevie Clarke? He's come under the spotlight for how he's handled the journalists. He's come under the spotlight how he's set up Scotland, certainly in the second game as well. And some people have even questioned why he's had his term there extended before this World Cup. What do you make of that?
Well, Stevie Clarke, I played against him, and I know him, and he's not as Jose, you know. He's a very quiet guy, to be honest, and